Welcome to what may very well be our final session with the main quest of Paper Mario: The Origami King. We are currently at the last zone, which is Peach's Castle, opening up right after Warp Pipe number 6. And it looks like that will pretty much be everything that stands between us and the end credits will be. Getting into Peach's Castle, ultimately coming into some kind of conflict with King Ollie, who has been our nemesis all along, and in the process, hopefully rescuing Princess Peach from her folded conversion. So we'll pretty much get right into that, but as with every session so far, let's begin with a little bit of a Battle Lab warm-up, see if we can get on the scoreboard with some of the ring puzzles. Sometimes we do fairly well with this, sometimes it is a complete fiasco. But in any case, that'll allow us to get the stream rolling, see if we have any technical issues to sort out on our side, and really any puzzle-solving issues on my side behind the controllers. So let's do some ring training. And we haven't really got on the board in speed rings in a while, so hopefully we can do a little bit better. Two moves. This one fairly simple. Executing cleanly really does save quite a lot of time. You can visualize where you're going pretty much immediately. And you can just nail that accurately. You can do that within about 5 seconds. Sometimes even for a puzzle that I am able to visualize instantaneously, it still takes me about 10 seconds to sort out, just as a matter of getting the controls down. But the faster we can get through these, the better. This one was one that had, historically, I think, tripped me up quite a bit. It is still very tricky in its own way, 2 moves. I think I want to just flip this all the way around, actually. And yeah, there we go. That one's very difficult to visualize. Burned up far too much time on that. And this one, we're going to have a bunch of these set quite a ways apart. I feel like we can just rotate these in. We've got 2 moves to just shuffle them into a hammer cluster. On pace to match our current record of 12 so far, but that's of course dependent on whether anything else shows up to trip me up for 20 seconds. Some of these are fairly simple. It's a matter of a simple transposition where you take 2 moves to just shuffle a column out of the way safely. Oh, whoops. No, we want 2 moves. Means just getting these aligned like that. This should get us on a scoreboard, given that second place currently is 8 solutions. This, we shouldn't be too misled by the fact that the colors are mismatched. I was hoping we would be able to... Let's see here. Uh-oh. I was hoping that we'd be able to get something like this, and then move that in. Okay, no. Guess we actually just matched number 8. Probably something easy to visualize that I just flubbed. But yeah, very difficult to actually get past number 8. Why don't we give that one more try? Just to get the warm-up in order. Fairly easy to see 2 rotary moves right away on this one. let's see what's next. This one is going to be 2 hammer moves. And yet, you can pretty much spot some of these right as they come in and get shuffled onto the board. Some of them are perhaps a little easier than others, but with the ones that are 2 moves, they tend to fall into place fairly quickly. 3 moves actually adds a surprising amount of complexity. This is the one that we failed on earlier, I think. We had so much trouble on. Bringing these over is probably not going to be the answer. Bringing these guys over still has some issues. In that... No, I actually want this. Yep, we got it. Okay, fine. That was a bit of a missed input there, but managed to get it. Yeah, that's what tripped us up last time, and sometimes it's just a matter of finding the right draw to get back in order. This is... Oh, okay, 3 moves. Let's see here. I think we just rotate these in, rotate these rings in. It comes together rather quickly, burning, again, far too much time on something that was not too hard to visualize. This is just going to be a single move. Luck of a draw. Have to do that accurately, of course. Nearly misclicked right at the very end, and that would have spoiled the whole party. Should be 2 moves on the outside ring. And let's see how much else we can get done if we can finally break the number 8 threshold. We've been having so much trouble with. This should be 2 moves. Hammer in. And ring move on the outside. Will we finally break the curse of number 8? Yes, we will, because this one is very simple to see. And we'll see how much further we can get with the remaining 23 seconds. Yeah, this one tends to be a fairly simple transposition, all things considered. 15 seconds left for whatever else this is going to throw at me. That's going to be a simple single line move. Can we break our current record of 12? We need to solve 2 more to get that in order. This one is easy. A bit fussy to execute. 1 more would get us over the line. So, will we break the record? Let's find out. And that looks like it's going to do it. We have 5 seconds to see if we can solve 14. Should be 3 moves. Yes, we can. Probably not going to get number 15, just given the execution time of any puzzle taking us well over a second. Yeah, because that one would have involved moving the column of 4, flipping it over to the other side, and then 2 additional moves just to create the jump line on the straggler that was off to the side, off to the top of that ring. So, okay, fairly satisfied with that warm-up. Actually got on the board in the first time, for the first time in quite a few days. And I think that gives us a bit of an auspicious start going into the actual content that we want to do, which is going to be in the presumptive Chapter 6. First thing we're going to check in the meantime, I do have, I think, a full accessory bag at this point, and nothing else to buy on that front, but we may as well check the shop in case there were any second-tier upgrades we should be thinking about. I don't think there should be, because at this point we seem to be full up. Yep, and indeed, everything is sold out. The walking noise is from the DK arcade game. If it does really drive you nuts and you'd prefer me to turn that off, that is something that we can actually turn off. I don't know if you've played this game, but this is actually an optional accessory. So it's this thing This might be spoilers if you haven't played this, but this is the retro soundbox item, and it brings back a lot of the arcade era sounds, including jump and hammer, and of course the walking sound. Now, if you would rather prefer that I turn that off, we can get back to something that's Paper Mario era. It's fine as is. So you want it this way, or do you want me to leave it on DK mode? I mean, you know, I've mostly just been playing with it because, you know, that's a nice way to burn a cosmetic accessory slot. But yeah, do let me know if that becomes an issue. And in the meantime, let's see if there's anything else that we want to do in terms of stocking up on an arsenal. Got plenty of money to go around, and you'll see that we actually have 2 slots on the top right that have not been unlocked. So that might be something that opens up in the post-game, for all I know. Very difficult to tell at this point. Oh, also, I guess I should actually put the discount badge on. I'm going to be shopping around here. And we'll see. I mean, obviously, a lot of this game is designed to be cleared without much use of these items, but sometimes I just find it more fun to be dumping however much ammunition we can on the enemy, so let's maybe get a couple more flashies in a mix. They've been sort of a mid-tier weapon that has been quite serviceable as a main attack, so we'll just maybe pick up about 3 each of those. That should be more than enough for the fights that are remaining. And then we'll get back to the quest. And you missed the 1,000-year door thump of the hammer. Yeah, I know exactly which sound effect you're talking about. Yeah, 1K-Man99, I don't know if you have played Origami King at all, but we are quite close to the end. At least, from what I can tell, we might even be able to hit the final boss in credits in this sitting. So, just to let you know what to expect. And, yeah, let's just tap the save block. I haven't really looked around Toad Town and explored what might have changed about it over the course of the game for quite some time, so we are not total completionists just yet. We are missing quite a bit in each zone. That's something that we may be able to come back to in the post-game, because from what this game has been suggesting to me so far, there is a fair bit of challenge content that does open up with the post-game. This is not the pipe we wanted. I wanted the museum pipe. Wrong pipe entirely. Okay. And in the meantime, let me actually claim any stray trophies from this guy. I think we claimed them all already. Still don't know what this spot is all about. Haven't done much collection on that side. Might just be more fishing, as was the case over here with this guy. But yeah, at the end of this, we'll see how we're doing for the museum pieces so far. I haven't really looked at a museum since the earliest part of the game. So we'll see how we're doing for unlocks, but in the meantime, back to the main quest. Wasn't interested in Origami King? Yeah, that's fair. I do think it gets off to a slow start. World 1 can be a bit of a turnoff in terms of feeling like, you know, more color splash, and with a battle system that at that point was all potential and which hadn't been used yet. I found that the deeper I've gotten into this game, the more I've enjoyed it. I actually think it's a very strong entry in the series now, and the excellence of how it develops the ideas in the battle system is one reason why. It does have some of the best bosses in a series in an extremely long time, which was a big problem with the last 2 games, I think, that the puzzle boss design in those 2 games, Sticker Star and Color Splash, was often just a glorified inventory check. This one, I found the tuning of it, the way the mechanics escalate to be quite fun. So, but that's just how I've been reading it so far. I do think that it set low expectations early, but then it exceeded every one of those expectations as it went along. Oh, Olivia seems to be back home. We have so many other keys. Why haven't we found this one? Because Luigi probably has it, given the precedent from the plot so far. Mario! And Luigi's just going to come over here with his glider cart. The glider installed, of course, in Mario Kart 7. Incredible timing, Luigi. He finally has the key to Princess Peach's castle. Or not. So we're going on some kind of hunt. Luigi. Oh, okay. He actually says sorry when you whack him with a hammer. He doesn't just sit there and take it, which is kind of interesting because a lot of the characters in this game do just sort of sit there and take it. Like Bowser over here. Bowser? No complaints whatsoever. You can just hit him in the face all day. Could be, of course, that Bowser just has it. And yet we have all these keys. And none of them are what we want. Talk to him a little further. You did your best, Luigi. I bet the keys are just in the ignition. Like during the... Oh, okay. It's right here. Finally, it's actually the key to Peach's castle. Wahaha, no wonder your cart has been so slow. How long has that thing been stuck in the pipe? Yeah, I mean, you know, Luigi's actually been very helpful this game. This is maybe one of the only times that he has not already been way ahead of us in the adventure. Okay, so Bowser, of course, being reluctant to give any of us any credit. Nice to have these guys assisting. It could very well be some extra damage in battle, for all we know. Yeah, we should probably save here. Whenever they hint that you should save somewhere, it looks like they want you to think that it is a potential point of no return, or possibly even a QTE death check. And so yeah, it looks like we may be in for cutscene. Or something else. So back here, we haven't been here since the beginning of the game. Not this again, he says. But we've come full circle. Hey, Miss Museby Chicken. Welcome. We are back to the starting point of this game, which is also final chapter. So here's Peach, who has been converted to the folded origami cult. I'm so happy, she says. So happy. Luigi, not so happy. That was, of course, the trap that we fell into at the very beginning of the game. She's just going to dispense with Luigi quite casually. I'm not following her until I've checked some of the side doors. Okay. Let's see what's over here. It looks like you can see how Peach's castle has been unduly ripped. And, yeah. Untimely ripped like Macduff from the womb. And nothing really to interact with here except just observing the fact that the castle was ripped right out of the town. What happens if I try to fall down a trap? I will try that. Mana, that is, of course, the kind of thing that we're always curious about. Of course, we fell down the trap to the dungeons at the beginning of the game. And we don't know if Peach is actually serious about letting us follow her this time around. Hatch in the rest of the castle, you cowards. Who knows? Maybe that content patch will eventually come. It kills you. And that's why it lets you save, because Paper Mario does that to you. But whenever Paper Mario does that to you, it warns you that you should really be quite serious about saving. So Luigi, I don't know. Luigi's fairly durable, though. I think that maybe Luigi is just resting. You know, I mean, Luigi's been kind of a force of nature in his own right throughout the game. I guess the implication is that maybe he's already used up the only safe falling cushion that was at the bottom of all that. But to be honest, he's probably dead. Which is kind of surprising, because I think that... I mean, that was the trap that we fell into at the very beginning of the game. So yeah, let's just watch Luigi die once more. And last time it was just the dungeons. However, it was the dungeons back before the castle was ripped out of the town. Now that the castle has been ripped out of the town and placed in a mountain, I think you just get poked by a volcano or something. It is, remember, sitting on top of a volcano that we narrowly escaped in the last section. So, not only is it potentially fall damage, but Luigi could just be burned alive right now. So yeah, let us follow. You are the blessed few to have been invited by King Ollie himself. Come along and witness. So, what kind of cult ritual have we been brought into this time? Ooh, wow. Plot thickens. Actually, the plot unfolds. And the castle itself is going to transform into something completely different. It is perhaps going to transform into giant King Ollie himself. Who knows, maybe this is just going to be a final boss battle. Some kind of mega boss where you fight the entirety of the castle. It could also just be Ollie's castle, a complete transformation of Peach's foundations into this really threatening mega fortress. And yeah, it has been folded into an origami castle. Rather precariously balanced, but it is ultimately paper. I guess he really is serious about turning everything in the world into origami. Bowser has, I think, an interesting philosophical observation here, which is that the identity property is still preserved. There is, of course, you would think, a conservation of mass. Legendary boots, not that we have needed legendary tier items so far, but you know, we never know. We might want to start dropping some of them by the time we get to the end. I haven't used any of them so far, so I am being a bit of a pack rat in some ways. Type number 6 is thankfully still available. Very nice of King Ollie to just leave that there. Can we do anything else with Luigi card? Not really. And yeah, you can see that it is right over the pit. Right over the volcano where Luigi was kind of burned alive, so it does seem like it's a little bit fragile, you know, like he's trying to show off his might. Oh, look at that. It's a hand. Olivia, could you perhaps assist me with this? Where is Olivia? Interesting. Is Olivia not here to help me use this power? I'm standing on top of it, not really able to interact with it. Olivia, are you here? But we did use the hammer. Oh, I see, because there's a loose slot over here. And you need to pair those spots together. Ah, I see, kind of like uncovering the leaves that are in the matching game in order to get the circle up and running. Okay. So, let's go with the Thousandfold Arms. I usually don't tap a hint that quickly, but I was wondering if Olivia was even available, and so that kind of answered my question rather quickly. Okay, let's rip this thing. Kind of interesting that Ollie's approach to architecture would, you know, give me all these front steps and just get me so close to actually enabling the entrance. And we're going to have some Fire Guardians. Not going to do much damage to all the fireproof paper that they've been working with. This will be fairly simple, I think. 2 lineups like that. Very simple. Let's go flashy. Ice weapons would work very well against these fellows as well. Ice flower, for instance, would just eliminate them fairly quickly. We'll save that for the time being, though. Yeah, this is a very satisfying battle system as an elaboration of what was formerly just a single axis of Paper Mario linear battles. In some ways, it's strictly more interesting. I'm very, very happy with it. Let's get some more flashy boots plugged in. Future reference. Let's actually maybe reorder some of this stuff just to be perfectly kind of meticulous about that. Okay. And of course, that can be changed mid-battle as well. You are allowed to re-gear. I think it might almost be more interesting if you weren't allowed to re-gear and you just had to roll with the loadout that you have. Okay, so how does King Ollie punish his origami minions for having failed him? I mean, they've already been folded up. You pathetic cowards! Ah, okay. So much for his retirement savings. Well, now we know how Ollie treats his staff, which is rather unkind and also a very illustrative parable, I think, when you think about how well the Toads and the Snippets get along in places where they are taking upon Bowser's minions as their indentured workers. King Ollie does not treat his staff very well. Oh, my dear Olivia, if only you shared my wisdom. If only you shared my vision for an origami kingdom. I assure you, folding all of Peach's castle into origami is just the beginning. Mario, since I know best, I have refolded this castle in my image. I sincerely hope you enjoy it. Okay, so Sumo is going to guard the bridge. Sumo is going to guard the bridge in such a way that we need to be aware of jumping off to the side, perhaps. Not getting flipped in the meantime. Wait. No, that is death. Ooh, 100 HP. We'd better plug in a mushroom. I mean, I can always just take the hit, but let's get 50 HP back in here. Okay, so let me think about how to do this properly. Looks like he's going to flip that. And he's just going to look over. I'm camouflaged. I see. So I just need to stealth. And I need to let him rotate. And if he rotates, then I should be able to almost get there. I think I needed to let him rotate twice. That's not going to be enough of a buffer for 100 damage. Let's plug in 2 of those. Oh, whoops. No, that was just a slip. Okay, so much for that. Getting through our stash rather quickly. And wasn't really expecting 100 damage off of this, so... We need to stealth. I also have a stealth item, remember, and that's something that is usable if we're having trouble with this. But if he turns all the way around, I should be able to approach him rather quickly. Stealth item would have, of course, helped quite a bit there if we actually bothered to activate it. Powered item that we have barely used over the course of this game. Okay, looks like we have 3 moves, which is going to allow me to just sort of swing something over. 2 space gap over there. Swing that over. Swing this back. These are linear, so we are going to need flashy iron boots. And that's not going to do enough. These guys are very tough, but we don't know how much Bowser is going to do on top of that, so why don't we just take the shiny iron to finish them off. I think crowd controls is a little more important right now, so we'll just take out 1 stack for sure. Bowser is going to do something additional to the other stack, we hope. And then we'll just need to have a defensive phase. On the other hand, Bowser does 50, and so we'll clean up pretty neatly. Yes, so 1 came in, 9. Oh, yes, because I was thinking that I couldn't stand on the tabs that were in the part that was being flipped. The reason I was thinking that was because, of course, these tabs were being flipped over. However, if you look at this, I would have needed them to flip over to this side first so I could hide on this end and this end accordingly. So I needed it to flip over to the yellow state in order to take advantage of that. That is very well observed, by the way. It did take me... well, I got through that quickly enough that I didn't really stop to think about how to make the stealth interact with making him stop that pattern. In that I noticed that he stopped that pattern when I was hiding, but I didn't put 2 and 2 together and think about how these would have been flipped into a good position. So, very well observed on your part. And in the meantime, you know, you could play like me and just burn 4 mushrooms. Or even 5. That's okay, we haven't been using mushrooms for pretty much anything else in this game. It's always the on-field QTE stuff or other sudden damage interactions that give me trouble. Not so much the combat itself. Okay, that's potentially helpful. I guess coins at this stage are mostly helpful for people who really do need the buffer on the timer, who need the timer to do its little auto-refresh. We have not been using that at all in this game. I have been using the highest tier accessories to kind of buff us up in battle when it comes to the timer, the HP, etc., but I have not been using the auto extender. Okay, let's whack this guy. Never saw it coming. Once again, we have a gap of 3 moves. I think this should actually be enough to do it. 2 moves. These are mixed elements, so we can't use an elemental attack because one of them will be weak and one of them will be strong, whether we use fire or ice. Instead, we're just going to go flashy boots. And Bowser can always get the finish on the other side, so we could have actually just done 2 boot stacks if we trusted Bowser to hit. I don't always know when to trust the partners to hit. They are sometimes unreliable, and I haven't quite determined exactly what manipulates the probability of your partners hitting. I think it does have something to do with hitting the excellent inputs. But yeah, look at all those folds in the bottom. You know, all those folds that you learn how to make as children when you know, inscribe a little bit of a fortune or a secret answer or something inside the fold. Like, I don't know what those are called, but you surely know exactly what I'm talking about. So having that be the deadly spikes is actually a really nice aesthetic touch, because look at that. You basically get chomped by that little children's game that I honestly never learned how to fold myself. Oh, whoops. I was trying to whack him, and I just missed. There are a lot of really nice aesthetic touches like that throughout this game. Okay, looks like we will need to just kind of see how our line moves are going to go here. 3 moves. Something like this. We could also just move this guy, move this guy, move this guy. We got 1 jump cluster, 1 hammer cluster. Not the solution that is marked by the hint markers, but it is still a solution, and I think it came together fairly well. So why don't we just go flashing on this side and hammer the other side, and that'll be all there is to that. Okay, let's see how we do here. Yeah, going to go rather efficiently. Can't really see what's going on behind hammers, but you can see some steps. You can also see an access way over here to this block. This block is going to give us some hands to probably extend the staircase by yanking on that little loose element. Yeah. And there we go. And we'll just yank that over. And the castle continues. And by the way, isn't it so fitting when we're going up the steps like this? I mean, I know there aren't barrels coming down or anything, but now I think the Donkey Kong movement sound feels especially appropriate. Save block is going to warn me in advance that something threatening may be coming. Kind of interesting transition, maybe. While King Ollie's going to be here, we're going to have a bit of a spike in difficulty, I suppose. Given that we may have found Origami Castle a little too gentle. I hear your feedback loud and clear and will be happy to implement changes immediately. I feel like I want to screenshot this for later reference, in case I want to use it for something. Okay, so he's going to flip these passageways around. This is kind of an interesting take on the changing paths that one often sees in JRPG dungeons. Really interesting, these guys. Yeah, this is such a lovely touch, like using these as the depth spikes. It's a very, very inventive little aspect of the game. We see a spot to wrap around to the heart over here if we needed a refresh. Whoa, we got boomeranged. Often don't have too much trouble with stuff like that. All these on-field interactions that are very easy to be complacent about. We're just going to jump over here and actually just confront this guy directly. And how are we doing here? That's going to be, I think, a pretty straightforward sequence. No, we need to put 2 together. Probably 2 together here. And hammer cluster on the other side. So the way we would do that is likely like that. Because then you would have this, create the hammer cluster, and you're done. And okay, let's once again, let's try to demolish them all at once. And hammer these guys. And yeah, still not reliably getting the excellent inputs on the hammers. Then that's just how we play. Okay, that's going to burst with money. We see quite a few blocks that are available on that side. We'll have to think about how that passage would actually open. Looks like there is a bit of manipulation we'll have to do here. Oh, it's going to be with this platform, so let's just yank all of these up and probably stock up on some items and some cash. And yeah, having more mushroom replenishment is probably not a bad idea, given how quickly we just work through some of the lowest tier mushrooms, the 50 HP mushrooms on field. And here's Bullet Bill. Okay, whack this guy, let's continue. Not that the first strike really does much besides a bit of chip damage at this point. But we have 3 moves that are available. It looks like this will probably do a fair bit. Yeah, just going to get them all like this, and then once again we'll get some flashy attacks. Bowser's not going to see much action here. We could have, of course, timed this around trying to let Bowser get the finishing blow if we were really serious about ammo conservation. Given how much gold has been pouring in and how little there is to spend on at this point, I do think that ammo conservation is not really going to be an issue. Now that I think about it, the 2 open slots that were in the Toad Town weapon shop are probably just for legendary boots and hammer, although we did already see a shop point for that in World 5, and so I don't know why that is something that is World 5 exclusive and has not unlocked in the main town. But, you know, that's fine. Not like we've been dependent on legendary items or even using them at all, really, so... if this is 3 moves, we move the hammer clusters up, and then we move the guy on the top all the way around. Feeling much sharper mentally with these puzzles than I was on the previous session. At the last time I played this game a few days ago, a lot of these battles were an absolute mess. Today, however, going rather well. Going rather well. And let's just be fairly quick and efficient about this. Excellent attack. It's going to be over 40 damage. I think your HP pool was somewhere in the mid-30s to begin with, so... a little bit of overkill never hurt anybody. This is merely the passage by which we came over... oh, come on. That's fine. That's fine. We'll deal with it. We know that there's a heart that is quite close to where we are now. This guy's just going to get flanked. And we'll just go down for that heart. And not die in the meantime, so... okay, we're looking at what kind of spacing here. We have... a need to transpose those 2 over into the 2 slots we see on the left. We see spacing of 3 there, spacing of 2, like between the I guess 2 o'clock and 4, or 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock positions. Don't really do clock notation very well, sadly. Yeah, if we just decide to rotate like this, that doesn't solve our problem at all. I think that if we try to find some kind of rotation that would allow us to kind of do 2 stacks at once. Another thing we could do is move this over. I think I'm failing to see this one when it comes to visualizing how that transposition is going to work. Yeah, that's going to be a disaster, unfortunately. Yeah, total disaster. That's okay. We'll deal with it and try to get them on a second pass. Sometimes I see it, sometimes I just don't. And that's just the nature of the game. So what does the confetti do? The confetti is something that allows you to patch up holes in the overworld. To be honest, it's kind of like a bit of a filler mechanic. If you know the game Origami, where you have to kind of restore the world by, you know, making cherry blossoms grow on all the trees, it's basically kind of like that. The other thing is that if you remember some of the older games like Color Splash, it's kind of like how in Color Splash you have to restore colors in the world by painting it over. In the meantime, thank you Switch ADHD for the raid. Very happy to see you here. And yeah, thank you so much for coming by. I am going to give your channel a shout out in just a moment. Let me just wrap up these coins over here. So yeah, you pick up the confetti, they fill the green bag on the left, and as they fill the green bag, you can expend it to patch up the overworld, create some paths, unlock some secrets, pop some coins, etc. So, in the meantime, let me just tap in a quick shout out. Yeah, very happy to see you here at Switch ADHD. I don't know if you've still been on Mario Maker over on your side, if I recall correctly, but having the audience that you brought over, well, you're all very, very welcome. If any of you are new here, Mario Maker does tend to be the main thing that we cover on the stream. We have, of course, been following Origami King since its release, and this is probably going to be our final segment in the main game. I may do some things in the post-game, but we haven't quite determined that yet. As far as streaming goes, I completely expect to be finishing in this session in terms of doing the final boss and the end credits. Was there a gripping point here? Let's try to scan around. Ah, here we go. Well, when we're kind of riding this over to the other side, that is. But yeah, typically we're doing Mario Maker here a couple days a week. We've covered 4YMM earlier today. If those of you who played the 4YMM levels, and yes, Switch ADAD, this is Bowser following us around. He is our companion for this chapter. The companions sometimes differ by chapter, but Bowser, who is in his folded form, has been the one with us. But yeah, most of this week we have been covering Paper Mario and Mario Maker, kind of alternating between the two. If some of you play Mario Maker, you will know that we had a release of a new level in the 4 Years of Mario Maker project, which no doubt some of you have already played. If you're interested in the level that I made for it, on the previous stream that I did, on the most recent video, there is actually a walkthrough of how that looks in the editor for those interested. Because a lot of people were asking me about how that's made. So, one Kman99, you asked, wasn't a heart thing by the top right on the bottom floor? We already grabbed that, actually. I already went down here through the door that you see on the lower level here. That's why I wrapped all the way around just now. So we did grab the heart, we got the 50 HP replenishment, and we're just going to move on from this point. Okay, so what are we looking at here? We are once again going to have an arm power that's going to allow us to probably reposition some of this stuff. Don't know if there are any optional paths that are going to open up, but so far looks rather linear in that this just brings us back to the beginning of where we came in. If anybody knows what these folds are called, by the way, do let me know. I just know that they're the kind of children's fortune game where you know, write down the different numbers or different answers that are tucked inside a sheet of paper. I actually have no idea what they are called. There's a pipe back there, but I want to see if any of that is traversable yet. Let's just take a look at this zone. We see a couple of doors available, but no way across yet that I can see until we reposition this fold with the next hand power. So in the meantime, let's just move forward, get back to that next save block, and see what awaits us in that room. Yeah, the fortune-telling thing, exactly. I just don't know if there's a name for that kind of fold. Okay, so we see two pipes. We don't know what this mechanic is just yet. Give it some kind of trap or something else. Know what that's going to do. I am going to check the pipe, but in the meantime, I wanted to see what's going on here. The 10,000 coins there were just from the step meter. We have a step meter accessory that gives us 10,000 coins every 10,000 steps. Seems like I've earned something in the notifications. Aha, those guys are going to go for the steal. To deny me the hand power. They're going to raise the bridges and try to shut me off, but luckily they didn't take care of their own pipe. So, the coin collector trophy. Ah, okay, good. That's a trophy that I didn't know existed, so glad to have that taken care of somewhat trivially. Whoops. Let's get in. Okay, looks like we're going to have to deal with more sumos. It's really been great to see sumos make a comeback in this game. Sumos, of course, best known for their appearance in Mondo at the end of Special World in Super Mario World, but I don't think we've seen very much of them since that early appearance in the series. They are briefly in some of the NSMB games, but only briefly. So once again, we'll actually have to use the stealth mechanic to try to get in position before they try to do anything like that. It looks like we won't be able to hit the guy on this side anyway. We want to approach the Koopas. I want to approach them fairly quickly. 58 HP is going to look rather perilous. Let's get back above 100 so we don't die to the environment. And we'll see what other replenishment we can manage in the meantime. Okay, Koopa is just going to die rather quickly. It's going to be fine. Feels like this guy here, I want to maybe tap that yellow fold that is in the middle. We'll need to get him back up. Nope, 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 nope. Ah, okay, no, when it is in this condition, it allows me to come through here. That allows me to sneak through quickly enough to whack this guy. And we'll stealth our way back through to the middle. I'll have to wrap around the backside, I think. Let's get back around here. And get the third Koopa out of the way. And, okay, this will just allow me to sneak in over here. Let's have this flipped over. And let's grab this Koopa as well. That should release the hand power. If all goes well, and it does. Excellent. Okay, so let's take a look at the 1,000-fold arms and open the envelope. Rather, pull the envelope, which is going to reveal this little room that seems like a security outpost, almost. Security outpost manned by this hammer who's been just minding his duties. Okay, so let's see if we can actually solve this. We've been a little bit hit and miss today, doing better than usual in some respects, and worse than usual in others. We have 3 ring moves that are available. We have a scattering of 4 that gives us a certain spacing. Seems like we want to get a hammer arrangement together. Something like that. Yes, that's going to be one of the moves that are necessary. How do we then wrap one additional guy in the back? Yeah, that's going to be one of the moves. Then we need to... I want to get a hammer cluster over onto either side. Okay, this is going to be imperfect. We're just going to do an imperfect solution because I'm out of time. It's not going to be correct, but couldn't quite visualize that quickly enough, so why don't we just try to
reduce their numbers as well as we can. Like I've been saying, sometimes I see it, sometimes I don't. Looks like a regular hammer to control the numbers will be the best idea here. Yeah, it seems like we were missing one essential move there. Bowser's assistive attack is only going to be linear. It's only going to be along the jump pattern. That's fairly important to know, in that if we need to choose between leaving a jump stack or a hammer stack alive, we should leave the jump stack alive. The jump line, rather. And Bowser's going to totally miss his finisher, because he's just that unreliable. And that's okay. One more attack should do it. Still over 100 in the HP pool, so not going to worry too much about environmental damage just yet. And let's see what's going on with this question block over here. Looks like another collectible trophy of the Paper Plane Squadron in what is one of the great segments of this game. Which, for those of you who missed it in the previous session, there is one segment in which Paper Mario is strangely convergent with Bayonetta 2 in terms of its reverential treatment of the Star Fox series. We want to do 3 moves. 3 moves is going to require us to probably think about how to manipulate the sumo stack in such a way that we get maybe 2 hammer stacks going. One here, one on the other side. I think the way to do that would be to... yeah, that's not quite going to work, because of the way that the hammer stacks are going to be interdependent over there. Don't know if I see this solution. I feel like this kind of rotary move is not going to be it. We may just have to blow this one. Yeah, didn't see it in time. We'll just go with what we can. That's okay. Sometimes we just blow it. Sometimes it doesn't come together. Sledge Brothers, though, take a great deal of punishment. We better finish them with a second flashy. Let Bowser hopefully take out 3 of the remaining hammers. One of the things that I've been saying I really do appreciate about this game is that the difficulty scaling comes partly from puzzle complexity, so it isn't just about inflation in numbers. It is about really strategizing around enemy patterns in a way that you do not see in any other RPG. And that's something that makes the battle system quite interesting, because the incoming damage is tuned such that you are punished quite harshly for missing, in that you not only lose your attack buff to control the enemies that are on the field, but you also take a fairly vicious round of damage in return. So there's quite a lot going on here to kind of scale difficulty as you progress through the game. As you can see, we've been having more and more trouble with some of the 3-move sequences. Okay, Koopa Mache is going to try to work his way here. We'll just whack him in the back. And yeah, he's just going to get out of the way. I think it's not too hard to just flank him and see if he's going to come back here. And so much for that Guardian of the Bridge. Oh, gotta watch out for these guys. Once again, so we don't get clipped by fortune telling. And what do we have over here? We're going to have a flashy mushroom. We're going to have another question block up top that we should watch out for. This looks like it may be another puzzle-like segment. Let's maybe poke this on the left. Aha, it's going to give us one hand. We should be looking out for a second spot. Second hidden spot that allows me to match the hands together. And it's going to be this thing here. Fairly clear once you know how it works. It looks like we do have an invisible block spot that is up there as well. We'll just try to lower everything. And whack this guy. Oh, interesting. That's... okay. I don't quite know what the indicators on top are telling me. Maybe we should just whack all 4 pieces and see what happens. But whacking all 4 pieces, I think, has a bit of an issue. If we cancel out, I wonder if it resets completely. Because the issue is currently that we need to get on this zone somehow. Maybe it pops out when I hit this guy. Let's actually leave it for a moment. No, it resets. Okay, let's do this again. I wonder if the sequence matters then. I don't know what the top part is telling me just yet, but we'll have to find out. Yeah, notice how when you pop each of these, it does raise the other tile that it's associated with. As far as I can tell, so... oh, I see. Okay, so no, that's fine. I understand this now. You have to do the one at the top left last. Because as you can see, when you tap one of these, the other one does not change. So you need to tap this one after the lower one that has been done already. And the markers are just telling you that you're limited to 4 moves. So, very simple puzzle once you understand what the interactions are and how that's put together. So, let's get back up here, check this block. Paper mistake, Buzzy Beetle. That we remember very fondly, perhaps from previous world. So yeah, we see Ollie on this side, Olivia on the other side. Slapping the avatar of Ollie does nothing. Kind of interesting that Ollie, despite his sibling rivalry with Olivia, has decided to install some artwork of her in the castle regardless, as if he expects sister to join him and rule. Okay, here's another save block. So we should be prepared for some action. And what are we running into here? Okay, fairly close to some ominous looking doors. You see the Ollie statue wiggling on the left side. That looks rather threatening. It's going to jump down on us at any second and interrupt our progress. It's Mario! Get him, everybody! So they're going to rush towards me. Yeah, that works. Don't really know if we can do the same with Olivia. Probably not. Poor fellows all getting chopped. Chopped to pieces instead of restored. Yeah, we're gonna save that and see what's on the other side. Okay, so I think we just need to poke around here. Slap the walls a bit. And slapping the walls unfolds this into yet another entryway. Now here Ollie is going to come out. We still haven't really seen if we're going to interact with Peach. My vision of a perfect Origami kingdom is almost realized, despite all we've done to roll back his ambitions over the course of our adventure. You're still working on some evil plan? And that's kind of true. So, Ollie has no choice but to... Oh my goodness. Aha! Here's the stapler. I was wondering when this guy would show up. The stapler, of course, was a boss that we were kind of led to expect back when we found home where Ollie and Olivia were initially assembled. Told us that the stapler was the fourth of the major tools, the office supplies that were in the kit, and so we totally expected him to be boss 4. But instead we saw the roll of tape, and afterwards we saw the scissors trying to chop everybody up in level 5. And so yeah, Bowser was kind of put together in his folded form because the stapler was the one who did that to him, so... Interesting how the stapler is here designed as a bit of an attack dog, kind of like Ollie's equivalent of a chainsaw. Find them. Well, that is quite an order. Let's see what we can do with this battle. We came in with a bit of an incomplete HP pool, but often the battles give us some on-field replenishment to work with. Okay, he's got some ammunition. This guy has some teeth. You'd think he's used to facing art and office supplies by now. The toad in the corner thinks it's really cool, and I agree. Those staples must be why all of our folded friends can't unfold themselves, yeah. Okay. This overgrown guard dog may be in the legion of stationary, but we can teach it to roll over. Okay, as usual, it's just a matter of being able to read what pattern it's going to be. I'm going to try the jump first, I think. Approaching with hammer might be a bad idea. We do need to pop open a treasure chest in case we have access to any on switches that would allow us to grab the hands. But I think the idea here will be to flank it with a jump attack. And try both a jump and a hammer attack on this first round since we're going to have 2 actions available. Just to see what actually works. So let's go boots first. Let's go hammer second just to see what we can do at melee range. Okay. Not much going on there. Hammer's going to do quite a bit more. So hammer should be what we're... Wow. What we're dealing with, but in the meantime, that was really quite some crowd control here. And in total, that's going to do about 40 damage, so we need to be quite careful about that. It's quite possible that I just shouldn't get into melee range if that's the thing that's activating that. On the other hand, he is going to activate a charge move now, so we should think about how to potentially disable him. Quite possibly we just need to whack him with the hands. I typically don't really like reading the hint cards, but I think what we'll do is... I do want a refresh, but I also want to have an on switch here. That's going to give us a little bit of life and also activate the hand attack in case the rush down does anything to pin him down. So let's try that. Definitely the priority here should be staying alive. It does look like he's kind of electrified, so I feel like he's not really safe to touch. Nope. The beatdown is actually going to do a fair bit. It's not going to disable this attack, though. Just have to block that as much as possible. We do get to activate a block on each attack. That eventually reduced some of that to 0, and blocking every attack meant that staples were deflected and we were not pinned down. Hey, Wasabi Wabbit. You can, of course, see how far we are in this session. Welcome back. Okay, this guy is going to try to get quite a bite down on me. I feel like getting into the back and hammering him from that point is probably going to be the approach we want to take. So, why don't we move this aside, move this aside. At this point, that's going to give us a heart. That's going to give us an attack point that's right in its flank. And that is also going to give us the opportunity to grab one treasure. Double damage might have been helpful, but in the meantime... Oh, shoot. No. I didn't see that was going to be in the way. This is an issue. We're out of range for the hammer. We obviously cannot jump. I am going to take this turn to just mushroom up. Okay, that was a mistake on my part. Or maybe it was just from the treasure chest spawn. I didn't see. I thought my path was clear. But I think that may have just been a mistake. Ah, okay, so that move just allows him to reload with some red ammunition. What is this, an art house horror film? Yeah, right out of Dario Argento. And Electrodude, welcome back. So yeah, Electrodude, we did manage to get around to recording the behind-the-scenes backstage tour, the 4YMM level. I'm going to cut that into a separate video of its own, I think, but it's at the end of the 4YMM session that we had, if you're curious about looking that over. But in the meantime, welcome back. We're quite close to finishing up with this game. This is the Guard Dog Stapler. Stapler that we expected way back in World 4. And at last it has decided to show its face. Once again, hammer from the side seems to be the best way to deal with this guy. Yeah, going to get a heart, going to get a +1 attack, and we're just going to hammer him twice from the side. Should work. Still haven't seen what the red staples are all about just yet, but I think just dropping the hammer on this guy is going to be the approach that gets us somewhere. That's probably as well as we can do for damage output until we get some special attacks in the mix. Ooh, tried to block that and it didn't work at all. It's totally missed the block timing. And he's just going to pummel us for another 20 or so. And yeah, catch up on it whenever. That's why we record things. Absolutely no hurry. Okay, so he's going to charge up his next attack again, and I feel like once again we do want to just do the bash. So, on switch, let's get the hands in here. We are at 157 HP, and so is there going to be a better pattern that will give us a heart in the meantime? Not really. Let's just go straight for the hands. And just try to bash his face in. The frontal attack like this, I don't know if it's going to be a particularly good position. But it's going to work. I'm chipping down quite a bit. Let's try to block this accurately, so we don't get pinned. That is a lot of punishment. That's okay, we'll just have to be careful about hitting the hearts that have been made available now that we're under 100 HP. So this guy's going to go for the reload. Once again, I do want to try to get into the back to hammer him shut. We'll see if I am able to do so accurately for once. Yeah, we want the hearts in the mix for sure. I do want, I think, this move to be available, and this move to be available. That will situate us directly behind him, and we're going to hammer him shut. Oh, except no, we have this silly little attack thing in the way again. Let's move that out. That was what got me last time. Okay, so I guess we'll miss the big heart, and that's okay. Important thing is that we get some HP replenishment followed by an attack. It's going to be a double damage attack. I'm going to try to hammer him from the back. And that should prevent him from the reload if I've intuited this correctly. Let's just go flashy. See if we can get that flank going. Really feels like it should work. But it's actually not going to shut him up. He is going to just completely reload. Okay, maybe bashing him in the middle when his mouth is open was what I wanted instead, but in the meantime, we are going to want to hit the treasure chest this round in order to get the on switch back on the field. We will definitely want some hearts, I think, if he's going to hit us as hard as he's been doing. Yeah, treasure chest is going to open. It's going to take us all the way around to the hearts on either side. It is then going to take us over here. This full loop looks like it should pick up both hearts and finally give us an attack at melee range. We can still manipulate this a bit further to have a double attack, I think. No, because that will position the attack much too early. How about like that? Yes. So that's going to run around, hit treasure chest, hit the +1, loop around, hit both hearts, and then allow me to attack. It should work if I've halved this accurately. Definitely wanted to get that switch back onto the field. Heart number 1 is going to give us 30. Heart number 2 is going to give us another 30. And we actually get 3 hearts there. So yeah, we are back to full replenishment. And then we are just going to hammer him from the side once again. So doing okay so far. But the red staples really do a ton of damage, and I have not yet figured out how to block this initial attack pattern that we see here with dog tag. Yeah, trying to get the block timing down, and it's just not mitigating that nearly as much as I would like. Yeah, maybe I should be saving the hand bash or when he opens up to try to reload, and perhaps bashing him shut that way from the back is going to work out quite a bit better. Yeah, in the meantime, what do we do about his charge attack? Let's try to just confront him directly, I think. We can get the on switch in preparation for next round. We can also pop the treasure chest, but I think at this point it's just going to give us coins. Do I want damage or do I want the on switch? I think I actually do want damage, although that only gives me 1 remaining move to work with. Doesn't it? No, that actually will hit the treasure chest as well. We then manipulate the center ring in order to get an attack from the side. Okay, we'll save the on switch for a future consideration. So every time I've seen him in this part of the pattern, I've been trying to hand attack. This is the first time we've been trying a regular attack. And we'll see if I am actually able to hit him within range, or if this is going to cause some issues when he's all charged up like this. Like whether there's any kind of counter attack. No, it's just going to go a straight 26. It's going to be... Well, we were able to get some perfect blocks off that attack earlier and mitigate it down to 0 damage. Whoa, 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 what's that? Okay, wow, he completely unloaded on me there. That was unexpected. Okay, we have to get some hearts back in order. But this time I am going to go for the hand attack if I can. Yeah. Hand attack is going to be positioned behind that heart. On switch is going to be positioned this way. Is there anything else we can do to improve this? Yes, there is. I'm going to move this heart over here. We're going to, with this pattern, hit the on switch, hit both hearts, and get a chance to flank him with the hands right at the back and try to bash him shut. Okay, not quite a full replenishment, but fairly close. Reasonably close. Let's see if we can bash him shut. And positionally, this is the interaction that we want. Okay, that works too. It doesn't actually do anything positionally dependent in that it's not shutting him or anything. It is just going to hit him during a vulnerable phase. Okay, he's reloaded. We need to just kill him. Golden staples, you know... I guess he's replacing his teeth with gold teeth, but still has a round of red ammunition in there as well. If they're as painful as they are expensive, we'd better go for a finisher. If we can. We, however, only really have the +1 to work with. That's going to be an issue. Okay, so why don't we hit the hand, hit the +1. I hit the treasure chest, rather, not the hand. Hit the +1 and then hit... oh shoot. No, I don't actually have the initial position down yet. That's a bit of an oversight. Yeah, I nearly completely flubbed that one. I want to hit treasure chest +1 as well as a central attack. So that's going to hit treasure chest. That's going to hit +1. It is going to take me down to the center ring. Let's get 2 nice big hammer blows off of them, and hopefully we'll be able to sustain 192 damage in the next round. Currently, kind of unclear to me if that will be the case. But we need to get the on switch and +2 back on the field. Okay, let's bash his face in. Hammer has been consistently more effective than jump in terms of damage, so that's why we're doing it this way. 2 flashing hammers should be able to do about 50 damage, maybe. Let's see if that's going to finish. No, actually, because this is not his most vulnerable phase. It's going to chip him down, but we need to survive 1 more round for sure. Then we can go for the finisher. Wow, that hits hard. And he's going to do a pile driver now. That's going to be at least an extra 20, possibly more. Okay, okay. Yeah, so we took about 80 damage worth of punishment, but that's okay because we have him. We got him down. Not worried about him at all, and we are going to go for the rush finisher in order to just get that bonus at the very end for finishing him off with the hand power. In fact, I'm also going to grab the 100 coin and the heart in the meantime. And yeah, I mean, we're going to beat him, so getting a treasure is not really a priority. We can just grab some coins, maybe. Even though we already have the coin trophy, so that's not really going to matter too much. But with the current pattern, we should be hitting the on switch, picking up 200 coins, picking up the heart, and then just punching him out, I guess. Okay, big finish. Big finish. Let's bash him. Oh, wow, look at that. Oh, that's brutal. Oh, wow. Mario, I didn't think you were capable of something like that. Just ripping him apart. Like, that totally is an art house horror film, as Olivia was saying much earlier. Just shredding this guy, ripping his jaws apart. This is a dark, dark game. In many ways. Something came loose, you think? But yeah, I guess we've unstapled everybody who has been stapled. And yeah, Electro, thank you for the GG. The GGX emote, by the way, has been from M. Murphy, who has been very good to all of us 4YMM makers who have been dropping by his stream. Great player, very generous to us, buying all of us gift subscriptions as VIPs. So anyway, Bowser is back. Look at his collars. They seem to be more silvery than usual, but I think this is, you know, the first time we've seen Bowser unfolded in quite some time, since the beginning of the game. We never speak of this again. Oh, he'll never hear the end of it. Okay, so this is Olivia's first encounter with folded Bowser. So I guess we'll also see what has happened to Princess Peach, now that she might also be on the path to being rescued. He also wouldn't mind showing Princess Peach that he's not a sandwich board anymore. Bowser always being so self-conscious about being a kitchen appliance. So, onward. Yeah, great fight. Been loving the bosses in this game. But yeah, the combat balance in this game has been something to talk about and cherish. Now, for those of you following along, you'll know that I actually am using top-level gear, like all the accessories. But of course, in my settings, I have not been using any of the solution helpers or timer helpers because I wanted the difficulty to be about solving the puzzles as balanced. It's sort of interesting that this game is flexible enough that some other players, from catching up on streams of other players who are behind me, I've seen that they kind of take a different approach to hard mode sometimes, where some of them stay on the lowest tier accessories or are on no accessories at all, to make combat as risky as possible, but they also extend the timer with every aid that they have in order to ease up on the puzzles. And so everybody kind of has this configurable difficulty in this game to make it land right in the pocket they want. And I feel like the current setting we have is pretty much the perfect difficulty progression that I want to deal with in terms of having to solve the puzzles quickly. So Bowser seems to understand the throne room architecture fairly well, and he's going to give us a bit of advice about what he thinks will be the final boss. Olivia is not ready for the sibling conflict. She can't believe her own brother would set that vicious stapler on her. Yeah, that is really mean, but I think Ollie has just not been a very brotherly figure, despite building some statues of Olivia in the castle. Of course we can stop him now. Oh, poor Olivia. You know, among the kind of throwaway companions that we've seen in the recent Paper Marios, like, Huey in Color Splash and whoever it was in Sticker Star, to some extent even the kind of pointer character in Super Paper Mario, which was where this trend was already beginning, Olivia is a really nice design, like a very expressive visual design, I think, as a character. And we're always there for her when she is at her absolute flimsiest. And yeah, we've made some fine alliances of convenience throughout the entire game, and she's grateful to nearly everyone, I think. Don't know who she's missing. Hey, Origami girl, look at me. I'm Bowser. I breathe fire and punch through solid rocks sometimes, and I'm the CEO of Nintendo, where your uncle works. You think I'm scared of that little twerp? Junior is rather high energy, but I think having his own flying car and his own army is maybe just a result of Bowser's own neglect and spoilage as a parent. He only has himself to blame for that. Tippy, yeah, Tippy. That's what I'm thinking of. I mean, I didn't mind Tippy, but I think Tippy is where the trend really began. when it came to, you know, the sort of modern format of the Paper Mario Helper Navi style companions. Hey, listen. And Bowser will be doing his part. We don't know what that part will be. We also don't know if Luigi is, at this point... I mean, it's Nintendo, so he's not actually dead, but Luigi really seems kind of dead. If he did have a good backstory, that's very true. I think a lot of the Super Paper Mario characters were kind of elevated by that sheer extravagant ambition of that cosmic plot that involved Dimentio and what's his name? The Lord Crunk or whatever it was, yeah. So Super Paper Mario actually did have a very charming cast, I agree with that. And, you know, that's what managed to sell people on the concept of having characters that were very, very non-Mario in some ways. Ollie has been kind of a brat. I think his entire characterization is that he's just been a brat who has not really thought very hard about his domestic policy besides just building an army. They did send Mario and Luigi to hell in Super Paper Mario. That's a good point, yes. Yes, they absolutely did. Count Black, yes, that's right. Ochunks is the guy I was thinking of, yeah. Ochunks has a very memorable visual design. I just forgot his name because it's been a dozen years since I played Super Paper Mario. But yeah, Count Black, Ochunks, etc. They are, you know, very good characters. And of course, there was that guy in World 3 who posts on message boards and complains about games that he's never played. I think he definitely presaged what was to come. So, it took me so long that there's nothing I can do to stop it now. It's funny because he still assumes all this time that Olivia is just going to happily rule beside him, which raises the question, well, what about Princess Peach? What is her role as a collaborator in all this? A Quisling. A Marshal Petain. Well, Princess Peach, I guess, has kind of been a collaborator against her will in handing over the keys to the Vichy Mushroom Kingdom. Asking for a friend, yeah. I do love how Bowser's characterization is kind of back in line with, you know, Paper Mario Bowser, though. I do think that this game has done that rather well. So, this is Peach's form here. She looks rather better than she did in the finale of A Thousand Year Door, that's for sure. Okay, so the princess has been made into this kind of lovely design, to be honest. Kind of like her like this, kind of surrounded by cranes. Look at all the cranes. It's like Ollie has already built this memorial to himself for what's going to happen once we basically drop a nuke on him. But in the meantime, Princess Peach is at one with the castle now. Beautiful, precious, and silent. I'm sure she's happier this way. You couldn't possibly do anything worse. I can think of a lot worse, Olivia. I can think of a lot worse. I mean, he's killed Luigi. All those paper cranes. You wouldn't. So we'll see what these paper cranes are about, because I think it really would be kind of outlandish for this game to actually have them signify a nuclear program, but given some of the places where this game has been willing to go, I do not rule that out at all. So what's he doing with the paper cranes? What's he doing? He says, I would. And I did. Witness the 1,000 cranes technique. He who has the patience to fold 1,000 origami cranes shall have any wish granted. Now that's an interesting piece of lore, for sure. But I guess that's why he's been stalling all this time and kind of retreating into this castle, is that he basically wanted us to run around the world and, you know, do all that busy work and sail in the seas and all that, so he would have the time and patience to fold 1,000 cranes, which is one heck of a master plan. And makes you wonder why he didn't just fold all the cranes in advance, but okay, I guess he needed a paper supply. That is real ultimate power, and I shall use it to turn every last one of those wretched toads into mere blank paper. What? That's crazy talk. The toads can't come back from that, you know. I wouldn't even do that. And I've done some mean stuff, believe me. Ask Kamek. Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing about toads is that they just create this boundless paper supply. Of course, we already know that Ollie, you know, his entire plotline has been to rebel against his creator, which is classic mythological matter. And that's very much his motivation. Like I said, classic mythological matter, rebelling against the one who put him together. That fool disrespected the very paper I am made of. He scribbled all over it. I wonder what he wrote. Now I bear the hideous scar of his negligence and disregard for Origami, and he shall pay. You know, it's probably just some note that the Origami creator just decided to inscribe, you know, like fold along here. This is A, you match it to part A, etc. So, maybe a slightly disproportionate origin story. And here, again, we see this game just joke endlessly into localization. I don't know if it's only in the localization or if it was also in Japanese, of course, but this game just jokes endlessly about the thing that people have been complaining about with Paper Mario, be it the, you know, namelessness of some of the characters like Bobby, or with the idea that if you've seen one Toad, you've seen them all. Well, I mean, I guess Thousand Year Door didn't have that problem. You're not against this plan? Guess not. I mean, if he didn't want to see any of their stupid faces again, he didn't need to go this far. He just needed to use the hole punch. Because the hole punch already punched out their faces, right? As for you, Mario, you've proven to be quite annoying. But there's nothing you can do now to stop me. Already 999 of my cranes are complete. Well, what excellent timing. What splendid timing. Oh, okay, and he's going to save the best for last. Well, that is going to be his undoing. Savage King, oh yes, very much so. Your adventure ends here, Mario. I will fulfill my dream. If you won't fold willingly, I shall bend you to my will by force. Okay, we're going to get some elemental powers going here. Finally, we haven't had those for quite a few fights, actually, even after unlocking all four. So Ollie is going to... Oh, he is going to match us with his elemental forms in his own right. He's mastered the techniques of every Billiopole. Now, witness how a king wields these powers. So yeah, we'll have to learn how to counter him. So we know what the elemental power does, and that is going to raise the ground. But it is kind of like a boss rush, actually. It is a boss rush, because we need to think about how to... Yes, we actually get the opportunity to choose what elemental attack we want. But in the meantime, he's also going to replicate each of the bosses that we have fought earlier in the game, so we can also follow the patterns that we've seen earlier. However, Let's see if I can flip him. We need to get a starting position first of all. And then probably like that. Because that's going to get the on switch, that's going to get developmental power. Oh, no, that's going to be an issue. On switch, developmental power, we mainly needed to move this guy out of the way. No, this is kind of completely bungled. Okay, no, never mind. That's not going to work. Hang on. That's going to give me on switch. Developmental power. I should stop at developmental power though. Oh, I need the... Shoot. No, I bungled this. I completely bungled this. Crap. That's not right. No, that's fine actually. I just need to move this down one. Okay, got it. Got it. Right on time. Let's use the Earth power to counter Earth directly. Using Earth is going to raise him off the ground and hopefully pummel him. It might also raise us off the ground, which is what the Earth Elemental usually does in battle, in terms of creating a bit of an Earthquake shield. So let's counter Earth with Earth. Yeah, finally, kind of nice to see some of these strategic decisions coming into play, even if it is on the last fight of the game. It is going to be a review of what we have learned so far, not only about the boss patterns themselves, but about our own suite of abilities. So that's not going to do much damage to him. It's not going to flip him either, but it should perhaps work defensively. That attack won't affect me in this form. I guess Earth is just defended against itself. Okay, reasonable. But does it damage me? Yes, it does, because he can just use Earth to counter Earth on our end by lowering us. Okay, so what we can do instead... I don't think either fire or water are really what we need. I think we just need to just... Think about this very carefully. Okay, we should just maybe... We can go for the hands. We can also go for the standard form attacks too. Oh, his HP just replenished itself. I wonder if that's something that's timer dependent. But we didn't actually damage him except for the chip damage of 1. I was kind of thinking water, but I don't know if the water is going to really... what does the water do in the context of battle? We haven't used it in so long. I don't remember if it just floods the arena. I think it does. You stand in a realm of pure origami, and I am in control. Ah, okay. So we actually do need to work fast. Well, in the meantime, I'm going to kind of like just work this out in my head in this screen because we actually get a moment to pause and think about the pattern. I'm going to want the on switch followed by... We've got to experiment a bit, I think. We have to try something like a water power, which I think is probably most reasonable. Ice power is unlikely to do much, I think. Okay, going to have a bit of a speed challenge here. That's okay, we'll just do it. And yeah, we'll just see if anything here is going to work out. So yeah, ground attack is just going to pound us. Ice might work in terms of creating some kind of shield that maybe blocks the earth attack. Let's Yeah, because a pool of water, I don't know if it's going to do very much for us, but let's try ice. I may be completely wrong. It seems like his damage output is just too strong to just do this fight the standard way, the way that we originally defeated the Earth Elemental. There's just too much of an issue there with stamina, I think. Okay, so we're going to freeze him. I like that. I like that. I was thinking that it would do a bit of a ground shield or something, but what we can do in the meantime, if we have any kind of replenishment that we can do, I can try to burn the ice, perhaps. We can try to hammer him, but if I burn the ice, I wonder... I mean, that would just melt him. But I don't know if that would do any damage apart from just thawing the ice, so that might be a terrible, terrible idea. Let's just try to hammer him directly. I'm going to get to the on switch. And... oh, you know what? Let's bash him with a hand. I kind of like this idea. Oh, we can't take that long, of course, but 30 HP recovery at the halfway mark. Yeah, we have to be quick. So let's just bash him. Okay. Oh, and we can flip him. Okay, I was hoping to just bash him, but flipping him works really well. Okay, that's going to take him down by half in this form. We have to deal with the fact that he does replenish, so let's not get too complacent. You were thinking in terms of Pokemon weaknesses. Yeah, that has failed us before in this game. I don't know my Pokemon weaknesses very well, but I remember thinking by that kind of logic in an earlier fight and having it just not work at all. So he's going to switch over to a different dial. Just have to remember what each of these attacks actually do. You'll remember that the water attack is dodgeable with ground. But I don't know if that will do much for us here. Remember that we have all 4 powers unlocked, and so therefore things are a little out of order. I do remember that ground managed to protect us against this. The water spouts are apparently going to be a little bit different this time. And once again, we have to be quick. When you move that on switch there, and move this here, let's go. Going to go Earth. Oh! Wasn't not paying attention to that direction. Okay. I see, because we need to commit to the attack when the water spouts are not able to... oh my goodness. It's okay. He's going to be a little bit exhausted. At this point, what do? Can I get a chance to... let's just bash him, actually. Let's just bash him while he's down. Seems like that's probably the best approach to the vulnerable phases anyway. Okay, that was quick. Is he going to move on to phase 2, though? Surely he's going to move on to phase 2. You surpassed the power of my superior, folded paper. There's got to be a phase 2. Okay. I mean, Peach still hasn't been brought into this, so... I think he's going to unleash something else, but we'll just have to cross our fingers. Don't you see, Olivia? We're both Origami. Why are you fighting me? Ollie, we are Origami, but this isn't what we were made for. We both started as simple sheets, but we had souls folded into us. We were made with love. Love of art, love of creation, love for life itself. That's what Origami is all about. We should be friends with all paper beings, if there's love in our hearts. You're lecturing me about love? Was there love in the heart of that paper toad who scribbled all over me? We still don't know what the toad actually wrote. Like, why is he so offended? I would like to know what the Toad actually wrote, like, you know, in order to just understand his motivation here. And yeah, welcome back. That's a mistake. He'll soon correct. Okay, so let's get into phase 2. What's he going to do now that the Vellumental phase has been finished? He is going to become something really terrifying. Sure. Bowser's certainly terrified. He is unfolding into a being that's going to drain the Toads out of the audience. Oh, okay. I guess this is going to be kind of an action-based arena, rather than something that's based on a ring battle, right? I think so. We don't see the boss rings, we don't see an audience. We just see him folding the very fabric of reality. Quick question from ESP Chicken. Is this how I talk to people like when I talk to friends and family? Yes. Origami embodies the limitless power of transformation. With this power, I shall rid the world of all pathetic, paper-thin beings. Okay, so let's see how this fight is actually going to go. It's probably action-based, but we'll see what happens to Bowser. Bowser doesn't seem to have learned a thing from being stapled. Let me fold you! Oh, okay, so this is how Olivia is going to fight paper with paper. Olivia is going to fold Bowser into probably some kind of Mega Bowser and we'll just duke it out. I didn't know that you could kind of increase the amount of surface area you can work with when it comes to Bowser. Like, this really seems to violate all kinds of conservation laws. Okay, I'm going to show this paper pusher how a real final boss fights. So it looks like we will have some kind of, you know, punch-out finale minigame here, perhaps. Don't worry about that question being rude. That was perfectly fine, MSP Chicken. I totally understand it as an object of curiosity. But in the meantime, let's watch these guys scuffle. Our HP display is up, and so we're going to give him some backup. Slam on the ground with 1,000-fold arms, we can give Bowser an advantage. When Bowser nears a magic circle, run behind him. If Bowser shifts to a different spot, press B to cancel your attack and switch magic circles. Okay, so... Okay, I think we have the general principle of this thing. Okay, they don't last very long. That's okay, we'll just have to reposition. No, wrong button. I was trying to jump, and instead I hit the hammer. Wrong button. Thankfully, we have enough of an HP pool that we can take a little bit of punishment here. There is a time limit on this. You'll see. Okay. When you jump, you can't jump over them. You jump directly on the shurikens that are being folded and sent your way. And yeah, that we can do. Just give him as much of a push as we can. And okay, we got a heart over there. Let's see if we can grab that in time. No, we can't. Let's hurry it up as requested. Still only have a few seconds until the next cycle. Whoa, okay. And let's see here. Alright, let's try to get into position once again. The timer only starts up once you activate the 1,000-fold arms, so you basically have a few seconds to shake as vigorously as you can with motion controls if you are playing with motion like I am.
Just have to be careful not to throw the Joy-Cons or something. Shake vigorously and stir. I will not be beaten by this bouncing blowhard. To me, my folded soldier. So who is he going to summon? Is he going to summon Princess Peach or somebody else? Seems like he wants to summon a folded soldier singular. Oh, folded Thwomp. Okay, folded Thwomp has a big angry face. Slam the ground as many times as you can before it falls and crushes us. Okay. Okay. Oh, I see. Okay, so we have a certain amount of time that is a safety zone, and then we have to cancel out. And so... Okay. Yeah, so we basically have a bit of a risk-reward mechanism here. Got a bit of a heart there. No Thwomp sitting above us right now, but we'll have to be careful if more of them spawn above our heads. Oh, whoops. Guess that last one's sniping us from the back. And, okay. Missed hearts. Okay. Hurry it up, Mario. I'm sure that eventually, after this phase, we'll have to deal with something that's like a more advanced challenge, kind of like the Thwomp. But also with a bit of a risky timing to it. It's kind of too bad that the last circle-based battle was actually that brief. Seems like we just powered right through it. And... okay. Eat gravity, you jerk. No. Yeah, I think the final Vellumental battle was too quick. That's my only complaint about this. It was a fantastic concept for a boss fight, and we barely got to see it. Given that we took him down in 2 phases. I can't believe it. I know there was a goodness in him. But... Ollie chose to hate flat paper beings to the bitter end. Goodbye, brother. I hope we meet again someday. We still need to kind of get Bowser and Peach unfolded. Oh, phase 3, phase 3. Bowser's gonna get slapped down. Now, do we get a ring battle or is this an action battle? Let's hope for a ring battle. He's not going to do that, though, having eliminated the audience as well as the central ring. I mean, surely calling in Princess Peach at this point is the real solution. That Origami Craftsman gave me something special before we left his workshop. It's time to use it. So, what plot token is Olivia going to pull out? All 4 elemental powers. Great. I guess maybe we can use these strategically. Oh, all 5 powers. Yeah, it's going to be like Dance Dance Revolution, I guess. We hop between these panels and counter him with the elements, I hope. Let's see what we can do. Yeah, this has been a grand finale. Oh no, it's this thing. Okay, okay. When we saw the Shy Guys finish last minigame, I completely blew the unscrambling one. And I never figured out how to do the picture unscrambling one. We are in big trouble. Ollie has found our secret weakness. However, we can see some patterns that we can flip over right away. Just based on... you see the line moves here that are kind of based on a mix of 2 colors that are along the same axis. So if you look at the, for example, the 2 o'clock position, I guess, and the 7 o'clock position, you can see that's already going to be a line that's movable. Likewise with the red and green one there. I think I see a way to do this. My anger, my rage, it's turned into a deadly poison rising up from below.
You'd better act fast. If that gas reaches this platform, it will be the end of you. Yeah, we're in big trouble. I am bad at this. I am very, very bad at this. And it is actually the thing I'm most worried about if we eventually want to go back to Shy Guys Finished Last to clear all 12 panels. Okay. I do see a couple fixes right away, though. We managed to cheat a bit and preview what we could. This guy here. Oh my god, we have no time. Take this. Okay, that's a time dodge. Which is good, because I thought he was about to just nuke us outright. Is that it? That's it. No, we got it, we got it, we got it. Didn't we get it? Ooh, what a dodge. What are we missing here? I thought, oh, maybe we need to rotate. What am I? Oh, no, we need to rotate to match the colors that are in the pointers. Okay, so we just do 4 rotations on each ring, and we're good. No, no, no. We got it, we got it, we got it. Alright, let's, okay, we're not going to get it this round, but we just need to survive the next set of blows. Too soon. Yeah, they are timed dodges. We cannot just spam. But I do have this. I do have this. I'm just bad at manipulating. Oh, come on! We were 1 step away. And I'm dead. 1 step away. Retry the last scene? Yeah, we can do it. We can do it. I mean, I could restart from save point if we wanted to see a little more of that initial elemental fight, since we saw so little of it. But I feel like the Bowser part would be a bit repetitive to get through, so. Okay, I understand this. It just took me too long to see what was going on with matching them to the pointers that were in the middle. So this is going to be a slightly different pattern from last time, but it will be just as easy to see. It's actually not hard to visualize because the axial moves are going to come first, and we just rotate the rings into position. Okay, not actually that hard. I was worried about this, but it's not difficult to visualize. Okay. However, it is difficult to do quickly. And we have a very limited amount of time to work with. And of course, part of the difficulty here is just manipulating the ring mechanic itself. So now we need to flip everything over. And actually, I feel like I should have done that in the opposite order. Like, flipped things into the opposite direction. Yeah, we're doing the time dodges fairly badly. A little bit difficult to see when I'm actually, in fact, highlighting the rings. One more move. Yeah, just need one more move. Okay, actually managed to get the prompt. Yeah, a little bit difficult to see. Yeah, to highlight to see what's going to happen. So here we are going to make it further into this phase. We'll make this magic circle disappear. Miss. This is going to be a bit of a spammy thing. Okay. Here we go. So we have this all lined up. What do we do now with the magic circle? Let's just a 1,000-fold arms and just bash him in the face. Bash him in the face. We can finally use the magic circle. The Origami craftsman gave me one final folding technique. It's our only chance of stopping Ollie. Let's do it. Let's do it. What's she going to become? She's going to become, oh, a hammer. So, it's hammer time.
Hit him with the Olivia hammer. I mean, I guess an Olivia jump wouldn't really work, given that she floats and can't actually step on any surfaces. But the Olivia hammer will do the job just fine. Mr. Lesser, I am afraid you did. I think you, if you just came in, you actually just did see what was the finishing blow. I mean, I did say in the stream title that this was the finale. So you just dropped in, yeah. Excellent timing. Excellent timing. That was a good fight sequence. Obviously, I mean, I just had the one event game over there that was just very easily avoidable. Oh, okay, and Ollie has been converted back to good. So now can he please put Princess Peach back together into paper? I was too proud, too entitled. My heart was blinched, my path was creased. I was a mess. Oh, so this is the writing that he was complaining about, and the writing that was motivating him all this time. Because he didn't like being written on, and quite possibly he just complained about something that was actually a very loving message from his creator in the first place. It hurts to move, but that is the cause of all this madness. The careless scrawl that Toad marked me with. Read it for me, will you? I must know what is written there. What words of gibberish mark this foolish body? Please, I could use one last laugh. It's totally going to be some kind of empathetic message of love to his creation. It's going to make Ollie feel bad about having behaved so temperamentally. Just watch. Okay, let's see. Dearest Ollie, may you grow into a fair and kind king. It's not just a scribble. It's a very sweet message from the Origami craftsman. He just wished you the best as a new king. And unknowingly, the Origami craftsman, by just writing on this surface and offending Ollie's sensibilities, well, to think that everything that has happened since just flowed from that one terrible, but well-intentioned moment. I love how Bowser is looking on in the meantime and learning all kinds of things about the ethics of misrule. I just became so blinded by rage. I did so many unforgivable things. I'm so sorry that Princess Peach and Mario became caught up in all this. Olivia, there's something you must do for me. Please accept these 999 cranes, and then fold my body into the 1000th. We already know how this is going to go, right? That Olivia is going to use her wish to, you know, bring Ollie back and just kind of be happy again as a family that can get along and coexist with all the rest of the unfolded paper. When the last fold is complete, we'll gain the ability to have any wish granted. I don't suppose it'll make up for everything I've done, but it's all I have left. I'm begging you, Olivia, do this for me. Brother! I feel like I've seen a number of Nintendo characters exclaim that, but I'm not going to think too hard about it. Mario, I have something to confess. I don't know how to fold a crane. Well, you see, that's what World 7 is for, because we're going to find the crane Vellumental and clear that whole dungeon and, you know, just learn how to do all that. It's okay, Olivia. I don't know how to fold a crane either. Don't have the foggiest
idea. This is genuinely quite a tender moment, actually. Aha! Origami Crossman is going to come in with Luigi, and he is going to show us the secret to folding the 1000th crane. Also, Luigi is back from the dead. Let's not think too hard about that. Ah, yes, I remember this paper well. Such a lovely royal purple. And Olivia, so good to see you making use of a giant hammer technique I folded into your design. How convenient. Wait, there are an awful lot of cranes here. Is one of you attempting the forbidden 1000 crane technique? Yes, but I promise I won't use it for evil. Can you teach me how to fold the last crane? Her wish is going to bring her brother back. Absolutely, just watch. I really do wish that there were a crane elemental, but you know, I guess a crane isn't really an element. It's just a secret forbidden technique. This will be my last fold of life then. Olivia, prepare to fold as you have never folded before. Ah, and there's going to be a crane. Well done. That, the technique, is complete. I wish. Okay, so. I mean, she could always just choose to bring back Bobby. But then Bobby would just, you know, pursue his fate again and do the thing that Bob-ombs do, and so perhaps that would be a little bit of a waste of 1000 cranes. So yeah, she's going to choose her brother, or she's going to choose Princess Peach. He's going to look around and... Are you really going to choose Princess Peach? 1000th crane. Grant me my wish. May all of the origami folded by my brother be undone. That's a bit of an issue, Olivia. Given that Olivia herself was folded by King Ollie, and so by wishing for this wish, she is actually undoing herself. I don't know if she has thought this through, or if that is a conscious ethical choice to kind of go all the way with this and just undo everything as though everything that her brother pursued was in vain. So, does Olivia actually know what she's doing? Like, has she actually read the terms and conditions before signing the subscriber agreement? I don't think she has. Well, she's going to undo all the soldiers anyway, including perhaps the ones that have been chopped up into little bits by the fortune-telling mechanisms. The castle, at least, will be put back where it belongs. And it's going to be transported off of the volcano back into Toad Town, restoring the castle grounds. That's kind of a lovely shot. I had to get that. Well, everything is back the way it was, but just watch. There's going to be no Olivia, because Olivia herself will perhaps have been undone. Of course, maybe there will be some final sign of life. I mean, you know, it's Nintendo. We have some happy endings every now and then where we think our companions are gone and done for, but then turns out in the end we
Well, not to spoil anything, but, you know. Sometimes Pyra and Mithra like to stick around. But, yeah, we are missing someone because she unfolded herself. She knows what she did. She knows what she did. And yet she signed up to it willingly. Well, we're going to have a festival in the castle with Toad and Peach. And we're, of course, going to have that classic finale music that has dated all the way back to the end credits of SMP1, if I'm remembering correctly. And we're finally going to have the actual Origami Festival, where all the folds are done by people who are not King Ollie. They're folds that are just made peacefully without the fold of life. And yeah, we see the boatman. We see the Monty Mole vendor from Chapter 1. We see Birdo. Once again, Birdo seems to have made many cameo appearances throughout this game. Luigi has decided to trade out his cart for the boot that we were taking through the desert. Seems like he has gone for antique automotive equipment instead. And here we are, Ollie and Olivia in their original masterpiece of a display. Or at least the thrones that were made available for those figures. And on that throne, well, I guess Peach never actually got to meet the Origami Girl. I'm sure we'll see one final sign of life. One final sign. To all the Origami, thank you. And so we're going to make our offering. And the lanterns are going to come up into the sky. I don't know if any of you have ever seen a lantern release like this in person. I actually did manage to see one ceremonially, probably about a dozen years ago, and it was spectacular. It was a very extravagant ceremony. Well, here we are. Thanks for playing. So let's go through the end credits and see how we're doing. See if there's anything that we can watch. Interesting how the end credits just kind of mirror the introductory sequence where you're driving around the cart. And as is typical of Nintendo, we are going to see a review of everywhere we've been along this grand adventure. Lead visual artist Benoit Ferrier. And I'm curious about the musical credits, as I always am. Not very good at recognizing a lot of the names on staff, given just how much turnover there has been at Nintendo in terms of training a new generation, especially on series like these. And of course, this game being worked on by Intelligent Systems. But I think the musical staff has been on point for the last few games. I mean, Color Splash had a beautiful score. A wonderful gypsy jazz score. In the vein of Django Reinhardt and Stefan Grappelli. But this musical score, I think, really kind of started to outdo itself with a lot of the variety that was on display. You know, the way that it was drawing on all kinds of genre sources, parodying films and musicals, and also just bringing in a lot of great material into the battles themselves.
Shogun Studios, of course, you can see us passing in the background. Notice, of course, that, passing all the kingdoms in the background as our memories of them come up in photographs is something that is very delicately matched. So do pay attention to the background art. Notice, too, that there are multiple credits for the HD Rumble support, which has been something quite well implemented in this game. So here are the orchestra credits. Just going to see if we can actually match any of those names at any point. Of course, we have classic character voices. You will notice that, of course, Peach didn't really get to show up this game, but, Charles Martinet all over the place, as always. And yeah, here's the sound supervision credits. Koji Kondo, of course, just being the sound of Mario all this time, but increasingly in supervisory roles. Here we see this lovely coastal drive, and also just the cruise ships that are being... The cruise ship that is being kind of staffed for a post-game party. And that Tower of the Gods that was unlocked by the Diamond Island orbs is kind of sitting around in the background. Oh hey, we're going to get thanked for this as well. And you. And yeah, this was from Tanabe's department. In terms of who was coordinating this from the Nintendo side, but yeah, just a lovely ending sequence. Riding off into multiple sunsets. And the sun is going to come up, and you're just going to gaze at the horizon and take one last look as the sun rises and brings forth a new dawn. So we've reached the conclusion of the Origami King. Let's see what we can do with a post-game save file. Yeah, I'll just dip back into the save file and take a look. See if there's anything that changes with the title screen. Sometimes there might be. I think this is just the same as before, though. We would need to load into our save file first. See if it has any kind of special designation upon it. And it has a silver star. Silver star that gives us the point of no return save block. So we'll just duck back in quickly just to see what's going on. It does, of course, take note of the fact that we are in the post-game and a new gallery has opened at the museum. Musée Champignon. Now, of course, we are finished with the game, so I'm not going to be running the stream for too much longer, but we are going to at least take a bit of a cursory look at what our post-game stats were, and also just take a look at the museum to see what has unlocked, and see how we can get back from the point of no return save block. So in the meantime, let's kind of see how we were doing for completion percentage. 100% of the Origami Castle, which you'll notice did transform on a map from Peach's Castle as well. Everything else we had kind of seen already in terms of our final percentages. A lot that we're missing. I think that in the ocean in particular, we might have missed some entire islands, in fact. And so that would be, perhaps, worth exploring at some point. In terms of actually, wrapping up 100% of the toads and blocks and so on, that's probably something I'm unlikely to stream because I don't think that's very interesting, but there is, I think, a fair bit of post-game challenge content that is available in terms of the boss simulations that open up in the Battle Lab. So yeah, if you look at the map of the sea, you can definitely see a couple of spots that look suspiciously open. We hadn't thoroughly explored them yet. Has there always been a pipe here? I wonder if it's connected somewhere outside. So yeah, this is a post-game return pipe. Can I repair this thing? No. Network error. Broken pipe. Yeah, in the meantime, those of you who have stuck around for all this and see me progress through the game, I mean, I'm still running this for a little bit longer and kind of wrapping this up and exploring, but for those of you who have stayed for this long, thank you so much for joining me on this adventure. I had a fantastic time. I thought this game really escalated dramatically. Was very happy with it overall in terms of how it went after what was admittedly a very slow start in the first segment that did not really get my hopes up. Really big, chunky adventure. Obviously, I've been taking something slowly to, you know, do some battle lab activities and read some of the dialogue and interact with chat and so on. Coin Collector was a trophy that we had collected in the final zone, of course. But yeah, I think the total time that we spent on this probably came out to a little over 35 hours, which is pretty chunky for Paper Mario. Not in the realm of super, but then we have also not really been completionists yet, and if we were really being completionists about this, I think I could definitely see this being like a 50-hour experience by the time we're done with it. So yeah, let's just try to unlock everything we can and just listening to this gorgeous music in the meantime. And yeah, we have 350 toads to spend. Let's just spend them all and see how much we are able to unlock. Just kind of review everything we can. Yeah, just try to see some of this concept art. In the initial zone, we never actually did go into the barbecue cabin. Thought we'd eventually have some reason to go back, but we see a couple of different concepts for how to signify the hands. Do you think ultimately the symbol system that they wound up with was pretty functional? And look at this beautiful shot of Toad Town in the concept illustration. Here's the Musée Champignon, so picture the museum inside a museum. We see that the painting on the right side is of a giant blooper. The illustration, rather, of a blooper that we have not yet caught. So currently that is an empty frame for us. That gives us a bit of a clue to what to expect eventually. Yeah, let's just pop everything open that we can just to kind of explore. I am, in the meantime, going to change my stream title to denote that we are, in fact, in the post-game. Hopefully that will, in fact, update successfully. And yeah, we'll just, we're not going to go through all of this exhaustively. I'm just going to unlock as much as I can. Probably peruse some just on my own time, unless something really sticks out. But we'll have some idea of how far short we are. Total completion. So yeah, lots of objects here we can see all over the place. Just this is one of the more thorough Nintendo unlockable art galleries that we've seen in quite a long time, actually. I don't remember the last time we had this much access to concept art, even as an in-game bonus. This is, in fact, very thorough. Yeah, because, you know, in terms of having an in-game art book, You know, in-game art books are no new thing necessarily, but this is the biggest one in ages, and I think certainly it's a game that deserves it. Really see how much thought was put into how the origami folds are put together. You see, look at the schematics here. They really thought through the backstory of how these objects were made, which is kind of interesting. Okay, so that's the red area. And yeah, let's just try to clear it as much as we can so we know how far short we are. As I was saying before. And it'll be, I think, a bit of a review of where we've gone in this adventure as well. Really want to see some of the concepts for Shogun Studios, which we'll get to in just one moment. And some of the really well-designed areas in the late game as well are going to be worth seeing. You can really see how much thought was put into the dungeon designs. Yeah, look at the way that they have illustrated the progression of how the cistern of water is going to fill up. And what have we got over here? Just reveal this a piece at a time. And here we are getting into Shogun Studios, where you can see how the various sliding panels are put together, like all the very overt Japanese architecture that's being done in this, you know, kind of combination Japan and film studio theme park in the manner of Universal. Yeah. Always loved this swamp design. I think it's just a very memorable design that completes the flavor of that area. It's more, you know, artistic variants of the standard Mario enemy set like that I think have always really made the art of Paper Mario stand out. Once again, you can see the amount of thought that was put into the schematic for how these locations are assembled, as you can see in the bottom right of this image. Also notice Luigi just kind of hanging out in this image on the left side. Yeah, let's just kind of browse a bit more of the gallery. And see what else we can reflect on. Okay, so here is the 1-2 switch quick draw game in Prairie Town. So interesting that we can see what some of the at least localized development names are. So we see that this is referred to as the back alley in the West Side Story sequence. Very obviously the West Side Story sequence. You have Tchaikovsky, you have the finale. Big Show Theater. Yeah, definitely I think in terms of visual design, just one of my favorite areas in the whole game. Just an absolute treat to walk through that. We're back to page 1 of this zone. Let's take a look at Yellow Streamer. See what we can unlock here. Of course, we're going down to Mole Town, which was kind of an interstitial zone. It was mostly just kind of there for a bit of a story moment. And interesting the kind of concepts it had for the tunnel. I think a lot of this zone was ultimately quite condensed, which I think makes sense for the purposes of pacing. Yeah, look at how much of a difference there is between what they ultimately have for the Breezy Tunnel. It seemed like we saw very little of that in the end. Like it was basically cut content. And that's okay. I think for the purposes of the pacing, Chapter 3 was already the longest one, at least in my playthrough. Now, this was a spectacular area. And in fact, we never managed to wander into the central section. Beyond where the stairs were in disrepair, there would definitely be some things to go back to when it comes to the Shroom/Sniffit City. And just this whole kind of, Luxor Las Vegas concept where you have this glitzy hotel built into an ancient ruin. I mean, I guess Luxor Las Vegas is just a glitzy hotel built to resemble an ancient ruin, but this is very much the kind of look that they were going for, especially with the design of the ancient murals. Really do want to see what's going on with the disco section as well. We're going to see it come up in just a moment. And yeah, we're not going to have 100% unlocks, of course, because we were short by quite a few toads. But I think the quality of this art gallery is by itself a pretty serious incentive to ultimately go for 100% after all. Yeah, here's the Temple of Shrooms. Ah, here's the disco hall, with the disco ball that had trapped the sun. Which is just an amazing little concept by itself. And here's the last page of the yellow streamer area. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, that's the desert and the towers. And once again, this overhead view of the ruined houses where we were poking around. So that's it for the yellow streamer area. Let's take a look at World 4. And here we see the Princess Peach cruise ship, which we technically saw for the first time in World 3, although World 4 is where we really kind of get back into that area, and so... yeah, just what a very comprehensive gallery. The unlockables in previous games, I mean, there were a lot of unlockables, but usually just in terms of enemy object trophies and such to show off enemy models. Not nearly as comprehensive in terms of just bundling the art book. The toads are not your main currency. Your currency is still gold. The toads are only currency in the context of unlocking the gallery images, and that's the incentive to collect them. That you find toads on the overworld by basically finding origami and breaking it open. And, popping toads out of some hidden locations, solving some puzzles. Also unlocking some of them in bunches when you do the main quest. And so yeah, a lot of the islands that we see here. Question Mark Island. I feel like this is one of the ones we missed. I don't remember actually seeing this in our playthrough. I might have seen that on somebody else's stream, though, when I peeked into some streams that were a little bit behind me in quest progression. Yeah. A lot of variants you can see of the boat design here. Whoever was responsible for the boat put in some thought. Here's the Subnautica segment. And yeah, this is fairly close to what we see in the final product in terms of the look of how everything is going to be laid out in the horizon. I mean, a lot of this segment just being a very overt reference to Wind Waker. I mean, that's really just a Zelda chapter in so many ways, particularly once you get into the depths. We played Super Mario RPG as a kid, but never made the leap over to Paper Mario. Yeah, I totally understand the love for Super Mario RPG. It was my first Mario RPG as well, and it is the one that is closest to being a Square game. Like, there's so much stuff about the mechanics and the boss fights in that game that you can really see that it's a Mario and Square crossover. And it's just written in its bones.
I think Paper Mario, starting with 64, really developed a very unique identity in terms of how it spun a lot of, what were originally JRPG concepts on its head. And I do consider, Thousand Year Door in particular to be possibly my favorite JRPG of them all in the traditional sort of turn-based sense. Because even though it makes a lot of things look like they are streamlined and simplified, it is actually an incredibly dynamic and tactically diverse game in ways that are very satisfying and which, really have a distinct identity as a series. Which is why it's understandable that some people miss so much about when Paper Mario was more of an RPG. Origami King, I think, has really finally taken the experiments with where Paper Mario has wanted to go since as an adventure game and finally fill it in with a pièce de résistance in a way, in terms of having a good mix of a battle system and an environment and a sort of, sense of place and sense of scope that really gives, I guess, this game individually a strong sense of identity that just distinguishes it from anything else we've seen from Nintendo in quite a while. And so yeah, it's kind of an experimental series. Of course, there's also the Alpha Dream Mario and Luigi line that began with Superstar Saga. I think in many ways that's probably an easier point for people to transition to from Super Mario RPG in terms of, dealing with mechanics that are much more familiar to classic RPG players when it comes to stat point allocation, gearing, all that stuff. But what all these games share in common, of course, is just the Mario flavor of using on-field action commands with the jump and the hammer, which have been the core concept of Paper Mario all this time, no matter how much or how little it has leaned into the RPG form. So this was Shangri Spa. And as I was saying when I played through this segment on the previous stream, I really thought that this spa segment in particular was very strongly a Kid Icarus reference, in that you would have a yellow healing fountain that was in heaven. I thought that's about as overt a reference to Kid Icarus as we've gotten in some time. It does have a wonderful charm, I think. Switch ADHD. This tends to be a controversial series simply because the gameplay has varied so much from game to game. Like 64 felt like kind of a prototype for Thousand Year Door. Thousand Year Door kind of completed that RPG concept. But every game since then has been very different. Sticker Star and Color Splash are kind of a clump, where Sticker Star was kind of like a preparatory work for some things that were done better in Color Splash. But they were controversial games because, there were legitimately some problems at the core of the combat systems and some of the other design that made people feel like they were excessively streamlined or simplified experiences. I think this game has addressed a lot of those concerns. That Origami King has finally really kind of brought back this sense of distinctiveness and a sense of adventure that some of us had been talking about in the previous streams when some people who had completed this game had dropped by. So we can see that this is the Shy Guys finished last concept art with the Japanese text. So this is the game show portion of the game, and this is my favorite part of the game. It is apparently replayable, and even has some post-game achievements that are associated with it, so to the extent I will come back to stream this game some more, we will almost certainly be revisiting Shy Guys Finish Last. Just a wonderful, wonderful part of the game. And yeah, you can see that they're sort of thinking about layout design here. Always fascinating to see how this is put together. With the, you see the blue and yellow, sorry, the blue and red lines that are kind of just acting as a very informal map of where this zone is going to flow. So you said you think RPGs struggle with that when in a running series? Hard to keep things fresh and innovative, yet keep the identity the same. Yeah, I agree with that, and that's where I think a lot of people felt the previous games in the series in the last decade or so have stumbled. In that they seem to take away a lot of what they loved without bringing in something really original to compensate. I feel like this game, particularly with the ring battle system, has brought in a lot to compensate. That it has done a very, very good job of making an RPG experience feel like a puzzle hybrid that has its own completely original sense of how to balance a challenge, how to think about difficulty, and how to take that linear and battle system that is very familiar to Paper Mario and putting a totally original spin on it, pardon the pun. That makes it just wonderfully complex, so. Once again, I will obviously be falling short of 100% unlocks, but let's just grind through this and see how far along we get. So yeah, kind of interesting all the time to see layout design. You can see the down arrows in the bottom right of the image here that kind of tell you about where the sinking platforms were located. That was, of course, the end of the previous segment when we streamed this game 2 days ago. You can see the Bowser airship design. Once again, just a lot of thought into how to complete that folded look in a way to make everything relatively plausible. Just watching some of the folding animations in action in this game, in the big cutscenes, is, I think, very satisfying. You can really see just how much work they put into making those transformations feel like transformations. Look at all the color schemes they went through for the Origami Castle in terms of wondering whether they were going to have something that's kind of a very colorful mix or something that is kind of dark and gloomy, like what we ended up with in the end. Maybe we'll finally see something to tell us what those fortune-telling mechanisms are called, but I think not. Yeah. Always interesting to see layout planning. I really do love going through some of this stuff. So yeah, this is where we're going to fall short. We're only going to complete page 1 of the character art, and then at that point we're going to run out of toads. So yeah, one of the things that I was talking about throughout the course of this game is just how much it draws on the entirety of the Mario series. You can see a couple of different iterations of several of the concepts here. You have the enemy hammers and the enemy boomerangs, of course. And a bit of a look. You see that photograph on the right side that they actually did, by the looks of it, fold physical prototypes of how the characters were going to be put together. I kind of wish we could see more of that in this gallery, like more of those physical prototypes, because this is not the only game that Nintendo does that for. That, I mean, you know, this was principally developed by Intelligent Systems, but the various Nintendo studios and Nintendo adjacent studios do seem to believe quite a lot in a lot of physical prototyping when it comes to the very many games that have that handmade look. And so yeah, you can see just such a wide variety of enemies from across the series. Dino Rhino made a comeback from Super Mario World, just like the Sumo brothers did. Sombrero Shy Guy made a comeback. I associate Sombrero Shy Guy with Odyssey for some reason, but I'm probably thinking of the wrong thing. I feel like he's been around for much longer. You see Sumo in the bottom right, but yeah, Dino Rhino making a comeback. Just what a great little touch. Sidestepper's coming back from Arcade Donkey Kong. And Karibo's Shoe making an appearance. Stingbee, of course, you know, representing 3D World. We didn't really see much representation of 3D World beyond that, but once again, nice to have the whole series brought into the fold. Yeah, sledges, piranhas, everything. Just kind of wonderful. Look at the sort of way in which they put together the schematic for how sidesteppers were going to behave. And here you see the 1,000-fold arms and the various animations that were being put together for that. Is that supposed to be Peach? It looks like Zelda. You're looking at, let me see, in the bottom center here. That is supposed to be Peach, yes. But there is a lot in this game that is very overtly Zelda, and is kind of an unmistakable reference. Peach is not one of them. I think Peach is just Origami Peach. So here's the paper mache or macho Goomba. Looks like a lot of this gallery will be to macho designs, and yeah, they put a lot of work into thinking about how they were going to flake these enemies and gradually tear them apart. So let's count up how many toads I have remaining to get to the total. 7, 17, 17, 20, 37, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 53. Yeah, 53 toads remaining in this game. I think the toads are only usable to unlock this gallery. The other galleries are some other forms of collectibles. We haven't really explored this because I haven't looked at this stuff since Chapter 1. But let's take a look. I think this is, yeah, a gallery of the various toad designs that were hidden. Like the various forms that the toads can take. And yeah, it actually does give you description. And I wonder if we can actually unfold them. We can kind of make it execute its action animation, but I guess we can't actually see the toad transformation. Which is a little too bad, but you can see just how much we missed. These were, of course, much easier to see. It looks like a lot of these are by zone as well. Notice that the toad designs kind of drop off after the streamer zones. I guess that sort of makes sense, given how this scenario of the game was put together. Yeah, we were relatively thorough, but still missing quite a few. And let's see what went on over here in the yellow streamer zone, in which we were just missing one in the desert. Once again, more sniffets, snakes, and at that point, by the time you get this late in the game, a lot of the designs start to be repeated. But it certainly looks like the fishing game is one thing that we haven't done enough of in order to do some of the unlocks. Okay, so here we're going to see the collectible treasures that we have been amassing throughout the game, and we are missing quite a few of them, as you can see. Hopefully nothing outright missable. I hope that this game doesn't have any missables, and that if it does, there is a way to kind of fix that with patching. So we do see that the original, or rather official name for the bosses are the Legion of Stationery. There was a kind of hint to that we saw in the Stapler fight, the Stapler dog fight that was at the very end of the game. But very rarely did we actually see them explicitly referred to as such, but they are the Legion of Stationery. And yeah, this guy totally did stretch the death scene. We didn't actually unlock any of the other boss statues, I think, which... Oh, we got a hole punch, I guess. The disco hole punch. So yeah, I'm missing tons of collectibles, actually, now that I look at this shelf. There's a lot to discover yet as we try to fill the gallery. Don't know if there's anything in particular we want to look at. There is the fridge with tiny replica vermin inside that is disgusting. And yeah, canned food part A. Food car type B. Okay, it looks like that is, once again, not divided by zone, this time divided by section. We're missing a lot over here as well as we get into the later part of the game. So yeah, lots of stuff still to discover. Luckily, we do have the number of optional detection devices that will make hunting for completionism much easier. And yeah, just, I mean, model galleries are fairly standard by this point. I do think that the art book was something that really did elevate this museum quite a bit, though. And here we also, you know, get a chance to see what some of the official names for things would be in cases where we don't already know. These guys were fantastic. Just a wonderful concept. Look, they have no faces, no feelings, and no fear. Let's see what's in the last section here. Okay, these are just the 4 trophies we have out of 15 so far. Battle King. That's just fighting a lot of battles. It doesn't tell me what the benchmark is. Coin Collector. Coin Collector we just got earlier in this stream. Scuffle Island, yeah, that was just the optional challenge that gave us 30k. 7 rounds of battling paper machos, and we got that on our second try. This is just letting us beat Ringer level 3. We don't have a trophy for speed rings yet, and I wonder if that's going to require a certain record, like, you know, 20 rings or something. I've gotten up to 14 so far. I got up to 14 at the beginning of this stream, which was a new record for me. And I think if you're fairly brisk, like 20 seems totally doable. As long as your actual dial rotation mechanics are accurate. So once again, we see each of these areas. Oh, we're missing 2 in the purple streamer. Yeah, just going to be an enemy gallery. Nice thing about the enemy gallery is that, well, first of all, the Thwomp gets its own section. The Sniper Thwomp, actually. That nuked us in section 1. Gave me my first game over. Wait, this is just the same page we saw previously? Oh, I thought I'd seen that area. Hang on. Oh, I see. Okay. Right, because even if some of the enemies are redundant, you do need to fight them in each zone. So Goomba here is number 10. But it's the same, isn't it, as Goomba, who is number 1. So, yeah, the enemy gallery, it's not enough to fight an enemy once in the game. You actually do need to fight it in each of the zones in which it appears in order to unlock the full gallery. So, the redundancies do matter. You can see that this page is actually the same as the page for Zone 1, more or less. Oh, important thing to distinguish. Were these Goombruds? Galoombas, that's right. Goombas and Goombrats are something different. I do always get them confused because Galoombas, of course, were originally just the Super Mario World of Goombas. Sidesteppers and Ninjas, of course. Let's see what's in the yellow zone. A little less redundancy here, although, of course, Goombas have made a comeback with the exact same description as before. Here we seem to be missing a piece. Yeah, there's reference to SMB2 here with the throwing of turnips. And yeah, Bone Goombas. Rovers from Yoshi's Island, which along with the Nipper plants are kind of interesting in terms of, you know, bringing Yoshi's Island back into this in the same way that the Crazy Daisies were part of Thousand Year Door. Always something that has been considered A staple of the Mario series, of course, being originally designated as Super Mario World 2, and Paper Mario has definitely wanted to keep a lot of the Yoshi designs along the way. So, missing somebody here. Seems like it's just going to be one of the basic enemies that we neglected to fight. And probably because we were stopping everything at that point with the initial hit. Let's see if I can figure out what that could be. Just by inference from the previous sections. No, we're not really going to be able to figure that out. But, yeah, we're missing somebody anyway, and we'll have to go back and find out who. Or just look it up in a guide. See who is listed under number 43. Same with whoever is supposed to be here. And yeah, lots more to come. You can see really how much the enemy variety blows up later in the game. And what else we have here? Let's just... Looks like we're fairly close to having defeated everybody in game. I never quite learned how to deal with the advanced ninja pattern in this world. If you hit one with a hammer, expect an angry counterattack. But yeah, they seem to pose a lot of really complicated puzzle patterns that I did not have the opportunity to solve. Love the snow spike design. I think the snow spike design, you know, if only the ones in Mario Maker looked like these guys. I think some of them kind of come close, but very interesting design nevertheless. Charge and Chuck coming back from Mario World, of course. Yeah, Stingbee would be the newest one here, so. Sumo and Boss Sumo. Let's see who else we have to look at. Going into the final zone. Once again, a lot of the same standard enemies. Yeah, I guess you are going to see some redundancy here just from the necessity of clearing them by zone. Love a lot of the Vellumental designs. In case any of you missed me saying so or are not here for me saying so, it took me a few dungeons to realize that Vellumental was a pun, because they're elementals that are made of vellum, which certainly befits their ancient heritage. And some of the older paper entities that are present in this world. Also notice that the figurines give you a bit of a hint as to what the strategy is, in case anybody has lapsed from this game and forgotten. Now, surely it's going to give me the Legion as well. I haven't seen the bosses yet. So here are the Ollie versions. And yeah, it's just going to tell me what the standard enemy pattern was supposed to be. We just took the hit from this guy before smashing it, so I feel like we just cut through that fight much too easily in some way. Only saw 2 of the forms, we just sped right through that. So as far as the boss fight goes, like, our damage output did wonders. I think part of that was because the Ollie fight was designed around the expectation that he would be constantly healing 30 HP at a time, just from expecting the player to be slow. And because we learned not to be slow, we just pummeled him and had no trouble. Special, is this finally going to give us the office appliances? I mean, I guess the office appliances are represented by the trophies. They're not actually origami enemies as such. And so that's why they are not in the origami gallery. Yeah. Look at the way she's folded. Like, you know, just a level of detail in the model assembly. And that kind of fluttery paper animation. Great deal of respect for the artwork in this game. I do think that, you know, when you look at it up close as a 3D model, you really do appreciate a lot of little things about it that are not necessarily obvious when you just look at the image head on. And Sumo Ollie. Oh, missing one page still, I think. Let's see if we can slide over and see. Yeah, here's just Ollie and Olivia. Poor Olivia. Bizarre grudge against toads. Poor toads. Read description. Okay. Didn't actually read the description in the previous room. I mean, we know what trophies are, so it doesn't really matter too much, but... Nintendo does such a great job, you say, using simple art styles but making them absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, I really do love a lot of the craftsmanship that has come into... Well, I mean, just so much that has gone on here. Thank you for the follow, by the way. And yeah, like, Switch ADHD, I've always thought that's, you know, if you look at games with this very well-defined and finished-looking art style, like, I felt that way about Yoshi's Woolly World and Yoshi's Crafted World in a way, where, like, those games are going to last. In the same way that, you know, I've been going back to Yoshi's Island, which was developed in, what, 95? And that is a game that has really lasted, like, has not aged a day. And there's something that's very future-proof about them, in a way that's not present. When you think about high-end games that have, you know, all these motion-captured character models and so on, like, you look at a lot of, you know, quasi-realistic character models in cinematic games, so to speak, and you can immediately see how they are going to, in long-term, just be reflective of the specific console generation that they were in. With Nintendo games, like, the main thing that has aged a lot of them is, of course, just the transition to HD. But there has been, I think, a lot of effort put into making sure they have a very finished look. I don't know how the sound gallery was unlocked. I think it was probably using the confetti or using the invisible blocks. It might be the confetti. Yes, it is confetti. So, yeah, so this is the point of dispensing the confetti everywhere, is that we actually get to put on some music tracks. I'm not going to do much of this. Oh, I suppose we have to unlock them piece by piece. Oh no, except it tells you what everything is. Okay, in the description. But I don't know if there's a specific track that we have a request for. Museum is just going to be self-referential. Look at just how many tracks there are. I mean, some of them are just effects. Like, this is just an effect. Maybe. Actually, no. I mean, just... there's so much audio in this game. It's just... And all of the thinking tracks as well. That's... something we can spend a lot of time thinking about. So you feel like a main sticking point of each generation of PS4 and Xbox is, wow, look at how realistic this looks. And the thing is, by the time you get to the next generation, people just look at the previous generation and hold it up as an example of, oh, look how far we've come. And they really draw attention to the ways in which, you know, some things might have looked very kind of rubbery in some ways, or very artificial. And the thing is, that was always apparent, right? Like, you know, you look at a lot of things that are very technically amazing now, and they are technically amazing. Like, I have a lot of respect for high-end animation, high-end modeling, a lot of the things that are done with motion capture. But a lot of the things that are kind of held up as leading edge graphically, on a technical level, you can immediately see how they will become dated. Like, if you think about them cynically, I guess. Oh, since we're in the Shogun zone, there's one specific track I want to bring up. Yeah, Swan Lake, of course, punk remix. Totally did recognize Swan Lake. Elastic Entertainer. Let's go back one. As we wanted... Listen to this. I think it's this track. And stage play. Yeah, this was the West Side Story section where I think when you actually get into the battle, like the reference to Leonard Bernstein becomes very overt. I think it's over here. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You can definitely tell where that inspiration is coming from. So yeah, this is a track I wanted to bring up. And let's see what else we have here. We'll bring up some of the disco, of course. We have, of course, all of the unlockable disco tracks from the World 3 boss. But I just love giving the, you know, quasi West Side Story track a bit of a listen. Let's bring up the disco. Oh, I love how the sound gallery speakers are also kind of pulsating along with sounds as well. It's a very subtle little thing that makes this work. And of course we have the C. And we have some of the cutscenes and everything else. So much music in this game. Yeah, kind of lovely to have this gallery available so I can just, you know, listen to a lot of these things separately and just really browse through everything on offer. We'll just browse through these sections quickly and then... I know I've been kind of on this post-game stuff for a while, but it's kind of a nice opportunity to just reflect on where we've been in this game. And... oh, Shy Guys finished last. Have I not unleashed some of that yet? Unlocked some of it, rather. Yeah, I guess we don't have the Shy Guys finish last tracks, and perhaps I need to go back to that game within a game in order to do some of that. So the last thing I'll look at after this is to see if anything has unlocked in the Battle Lab. The Battle Lab, I think, should have given us a couple of additional boss battles, since a lot of them were not originally included in the selection that was available for us to practice on. I have not actually done the boss time trials yet, but I do want to see what kind of content is available. Have we looked at the special section? And of course, this is just the final part here. We heard plenty of that earlier in this stream. And yeah, these are some extra tracks that are just sound effects that are very common. Some repeated sound effects that we've heard throughout the game. Paper Mario the Origami King, I guess this must be just a title track. Yep, that's the title screen track. And let's just leave it with a cafe. Okay. So let's pop back out at long last after seeing how much unlocking we've done. I'm going to check a few things. I'm going to see if the shops have anything that might have changed. Oh, look at that. That's new. Origami cranes. Yes, that is a post-game reward. And this guy doesn't know about it. But yeah, that's just a little bit of a post-game pickup right there. And we'll just check some of the shops just to see If anything has changed, I think this guy's sold out of everything, as we saw much earlier, and nothing has altered. And yeah, just a Toad House over there in preparation for the Origami Festival. Let's check the weapon shop to see if the top corners have finally been unlocked. Don't know if it's just going to be the legendary weapons or something. Ah, Princess Peach trophy. That's new. So now that we are in the post-game, I think all of the shopping locations are going to be worth checking. Princess Peach is going to be 70k. And you know what? We can afford it, so let's get it. Yes, let's. That's number 119. So that's 2 treasures right there. Just accounted for by being very rich. It seems like there is one final treasure that will be on the top right. We don't know what goes on a shelf yet. So yeah, glad we poked around there to explore that a little bit. As I said before, very last thing I'll check before I log off is whatever is down here. To see if the range of offerings in the Battle Lab has been extended. See, standard ring training is just exactly how it has looked before. We do not have a Speed Rings trophy yet, and I think we'll just have to do that. I don't know if I will look up what the benchmark is for that. I have not looked up any external information for this game. Except, of course, for one soft lock risk that we were warned about, that in this version of the game, that there was apparently a glitch that had not been patched. But other than that, I have not looked up anything about this game since the first reveal trailer, and so a lot of this stuff in terms of the benchmarks for the achievements and what the trophies are, I am just kind of doing by inference. So, originally, each of these sections only gave me these 4. We see that it's going to rank top 3 clear times. I wonder, when it comes to the RNG elements, how that's going to be managed, whether the patterns are going to be 100% consistent when it comes to the layouts of the board. When it comes to a speed record, it seems like that would probably be necessary to make it fair, but on the other hand, if you think about the Speed Rings battle, like that is very much driven by RNG, and yet it feels okay. Boss battle. So originally we just had the 4 slots here, but you can see that this has now opened up considerably and given us not just the 4 world bosses, but also Boss Sumabro, Hendaconda, who was the paper cutout, scissors, and stapler. We don't get the opportunity to refight, well, Ollie, because Ollie is past the point of no return save point. But I think that's the only one who is missing as far as the bosses goes. Really good complement of 12 bosses in that sense. This... Oh yes, these are just the sort of world mini-bosses. They were not actually too difficult to deal with. So the speed records there should be fairly approachable, given that they do not involve ring puzzles. Did I just miss something that I could check at the computer? Let me just... Did that give me something to check? No. Okay. So yeah, I think we've pretty much exhausted what we can see of what is the immediately available post-game content. So I'm going to be closing up the stream in just a moment, but I'll kind of go through some of the plans that we have in the meantime before we completely log off. But yeah, here we are down to 0 toad points and a new gallery. Did we actually see the new gallery? Or did I just miss it? Like, was one of these galleries new gallery? I feel like I did everything here. Checked every door. Art gallery had always been around. Origami gallery had always been around. Treasures. Yeah, probably just the character gallery. No, that had been around too, so... Let me make sure I'm not missing something. It might have been the sound gallery that actually opened up last, but not having checked the museum since the beginning of the game, I don't know what was a late unlock and what was always around. Okay, in that case, let's just go back to the save block. I will just kind of say a word about where we're going with this game and with our Mario Maker streams, and then we will kind of bid you farewell for now and send you along your way. So yeah, that's pretty much the end of this adventure. Olivia is still going to be with us at this point before the point of no return, and she has no idea what is coming. And this is, of course, the end of the story mode. We hit the credits, you know, within the last hour or so, as you all stayed here to see. It will not be the absolute end of our video coverage of Origami King. At this point in time, 100% of my time in the game has been spent on stream. That's not likely to continue because I think a lot of the stuff like grinding out the toads and doing the rest of the unlocks is probably better done separately. Because I don't imagine it would be that interesting to watch, to be honest. Things that are interesting to watch, however, are going to be the things that are achievement-oriented, such as chasing down the requirements for the trophies with the timed boss battles in a battle lab, as well as trying to raise our score in speed rings, as well as returning to Shy Guy's Finish Last, which was, once again, my favorite part of the game, and which is a repeatable challenge with lots of unlocks, so far as I can tell. So we will likely be doing some special streams of Paper Mario from time to time, to look at some of that content, and how much of that we do has yet to be determined. Lately, this has been kind of eating into the slots that I would dedicate towards viewer levels for Mario Maker 2. So we'll be picking up that schedule again and trying to, you know, do more than just one viewer level stream a week. As for viewer levels, though, that can be expected to return in the Thursday daytime program, as we've usually been doing, followed by the regular Mario Maker 4YMM preview and backlog program that is on the Saturday to Sunday late night stream. 4YMM coverage recently has been on Tuesdays, but it will likely be moved next week due to a scheduling conflict. We can talk about that when it's closer, but we're going to move a few things around once again, just because, you know, our schedule is complicated. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for watching. That'll be the end of this game, and I think I had a very, very pleasant time with it. It was an absolute joy to play and an absolute joy to share as well. Those of you who have been watching, I mean, some people who have come by have finished ahead of us, and some people, of course, just didn't want to buy the game but wanted to experience it vicariously. I hope on both ends that this has been a great experience to follow, and that I've presented it in a reasonably entertaining way, without too many crashes and glitches and other player-inflicted disasters. In the meantime, I'm going to see if there is anybody else that is worth sending you off to. And so we'll just take a look at my list and take a look at the directory on Twitch and see if anybody is a ripe target. But for now, I bid you a good night, and that's it for the Origami King, and we'll see you next time if we return for any bonus content. So, have a good day. Have a good morning or afternoon, wherever you are.